Wyatt was floored. According to the original script, Sophie was supposed to get scared and duck behind Leo. But now, before Sophie even had a chance to be frightened, Leo had made his move and topped it off with a high-pitched, embarrassing shriek. Was he looking for a girlfriend or a mom? The entire legacy of the Leo family name had just been single-handedly tarnished. The sudden shriek didn't come from one of the haunted house's zombie actors, but from Leo himself. It startled Isabelle and Ashley, who had their eyes squeezed shut. Wyatt felt a push from behind and had no choice but to stumble forward. He didn't know how long they'd been walking, but when he finally saw the glow of the exit sign, he slowed down. "Leo, what the hell was that?" Wyatt asked, completely exasperated. Only then did Leo seem to snap out of it. The realization that he'd just clung to Sophie in terror sent a hot flush across his face, turning it the color of a cooked beet. "Didn't you guys see it?" he stammered. "A zombie climbed out of that coffin." "No kidding," Wyatt deadpanned. "They literally told us there were live actors in here before we went in." Leo's face burned with shame. He knew he'd made a complete fool of himself. Wyatt, seeing no other option, led the group out of the attraction. Back in the bright sunlight of the mall, they all took a moment to recover, the spooky scenes still fresh in their minds. Because Cecilia, Isabelle, and Ashley had kept their eyes shut tight near the coffin, only Wyatt had witnessed Leo grabbing Sophie. Leo was still beet red, mortified by his own actions. Sophie hadn't said a word, but a faint blush colored her cheeks. She couldn't remember the last time she'd had such close contact with a guy. The thought of Leo's arms wrapped around her from behind sent her heart fluttering. Wyatt saw Leo struggling, looking like he wanted to say something. Fearing he was about to apologize to Sophie and make things even more awkward, Wyatt quickly changed the subject. "You guys are useless," he said with a laugh. That barely even qualified as scary. "Hey, I didn't scream," Ashley retorted. "Besides, this wasn't our idea." "Exactly," Isabelle added, making Leo feel even more embarrassed. Wyatt took a still-shaken Cecilia's hand and led her away from the group. Then, using the excuse of buying water, he pulled Leo aside. "Wyatt, what do I do?" Leo whispered, his voice laced with panic. "Am I completely screwed?" "Listen to me," Wyatt said firmly. "Whatever you do, do not apologize to her in front of the others. If you're going to do it, send her a private message later tonight after you get back." Leo nodded, still looking miserable. Seeing his friend's dejected state, Wyatt clapped him on the shoulder. "Look, don't overthink it. This one's on me. I didn't realize you were such a coward. But maybe it's not a bad thing." When we came out, Sophie didn't say anything. She just blushed a little, Wyatt explained in a low voice. "That means she wasn't angry. It also means she doesn't dislike you. Trust me, if a girl gets grabbed by a guy she hates, that is not the face she makes." "Really?" "Definitely," Wyatt said with a confident nod. His words seemed to lift a weight off Leo's shoulders. The two returned with several bottles of water. Wyatt handed them out to Isabelle and Ashley first, then twisted the cap off a bottle and gave it to Cecilia. Leo, copying him, carefully opened a bottle for Sophie before handing it to her. It was still early, so the group wandered through the mall until they found a strip of food trucks nearby. They decided to have lunch there. Wyatt ordered a small container of chili cheese fries and, using a small wooden fork, tried to offer a bite to Cecilia. She pinched her nose and waved it away with a look of disgust. Instead, she bought a huge, beautiful cinnamon roll, but after 2 bites, declared it was too sweet and handed the rest to Wyatt. Around noon, Wyatt walked with them to the subway station. The other 5 were all taking the same train, while Wyatt needed to catch one going in the opposite direction back to campus. As they waited on the platform, Wyatt pulled Cecilia aside for a private word. "I'm probably going to be pretty busy this month," he said quietly. "If I come see you on the weekend, I'll text you first." "Why are you so busy?" "The vending machines are getting installed at 2 more universities next week. Plus, I need to run a big promotion at the market for Christmas and Christmas Eve." "Oh." Wyatt reached out and zipped up her puffer jacket. "It's going to get colder. Don't get sick, okay?" "You're so naggy." Hearing the rumble of an approaching train, Wyatt glanced down the tunnel. It was arriving. "Okay, I'm going to head back," he said with a quick smile. "Text me whenever. And don't forget to miss me." As the train glided to a stop, Cecilia's mood suddenly sank. The thought that she wouldn't see him for at least another week made her call out, "Wyatt." He had already turned aboard but spun back around. "Yeah." Cecilia stepped forward, reached behind her head, and pulled the simple black elastic tie from her hair. She took his hand and slipped it onto his wrist. Wyatt held up his hand, a grin spreading across his face. "What's this for?" "Don't you dare take it off," she commanded with a huff. "All right, you got it. I'm really going now." Without waiting for a reply, Wyatt leaned down and planted a feather-like kiss on her forehead before quickly turning and jogging onto the train. Cecilia watched him waving at her from inside the car, her face flushing bright red. Behind her, Isabelle couldn't resist. TSK, TSK. Those two are physically incapable of not giving us a PDA overdose. I've had it. She wrapped an arm around Ashley. Maybe you should get a boyfriend, too. Why don't you? Gotta find the right one, you know? A few minutes later, their train arrived. Since it was lunchtime, the cars were mostly empty, and they easily found seats. The four girls, Isabelle, Ashley, Cecilia, and Sophie, sat down in a row. Leo hovered awkwardly, unsure if he should sit with them. Finally, Isabelle laughed. Leo, are you just going to stand there? He instinctively glanced at Sophie, a goofy smile on his face, not knowing what to say. Sophie didn't look up at him, but after Isabelle spoke, she subtly shifted a little closer to Cecilia. Leo didn't catch the small movement, but Wyatt's advice echoed in his head. Mustering all his courage, he sat down in the empty space next to Sophie. The moment he did, Isabelle leaned her head to the side, her voice full of mischief. So, Leo? Yeah. You have a crush on our Sophie, don't you? She said with a wicked grin. Leo's face erupted in a crimson blush. He felt exactly like he had in middle school when his dad walked in on him secretly watching porn. He wished the floor would open up and swallow him whole. He was so flustered he couldn't form a single word in response to Isabelle. Sophie was just as mortified. She shot Isabelle a sharp, pleading look. Isabelle, what are you talking about? Isabelle just covered her mouth and giggled. Oh, I'm just kidding. She said it playfully, but she knew exactly what she was doing. Just yesterday at the Hot Pot restaurant, she'd caught Leo stealing glances at Sophie, who had been sitting right next to her. Leo and Wyatt were good friends, but in this department, they were polar opposites. If Wyatt had been caught staring at Cecilia, he wouldn't have been embarrassed at all. He probably would have shot Isabelle a dirty look and fired back. Why are you looking at me? But Leo wasn't Wyatt. If he knew Isabelle had caught him, he would have instantly averted his gaze and looked down, consumed by guilt. From his beet-red face after the haunted house, Isabelle had a pretty good read on him. After her one jab, she let the topic drop. Her question, however, had sent Leo's heart into a frantic drum solo. The subway required transfer, and after they switched lines, there were no more seats. Soon enough, the train pulled into the station nearest the Juilliard School. As the door slid open, Isabelle and the others prepared to get off. Despite his anxiety-ridden journey, Leo managed to raise a hand. He meant to say bye, but what came out was, see you later? See you, the girls replied. See you later. As in, he hoped he would see her again. Leo wasn't sure if Sophie understood the hidden meaning. The moment they were on the escalator, he whipped out his phone and fired off a series of texts to Wyatt. Leo, bro. Leo, help. Wyatt, what's up? Leo, Isabelle knows I like Sophie. She just asked me about it on the subway, right in front of her. Wyatt, it's normal that she figured it out. Wyatt, how did Sophie react? Leo, she told Isabelle to stop talking nonsense. Wyatt, did she blush? Leo, I think so. Wyatt, then you're good. Wyatt, just stay calm. Wyatt, around 8 tonight, you need to message Sophie. Your conversation tonight is critical. Leo, don't go anywhere tonight, okay? Wyatt, why? Leo, if I don't know what to say, I need to be able to text you. Wyatt, damn it, man. Don't wear me out while you're trying to get a girlfriend. Leo, come on, bro. Just a few more lessons. Seeing that last message, Wyatt's mind flashed back to the disastrous marriage he knew Leo had endured in his previous life. He quickly replied, fine. Message me anytime. I'll be on standby. Leo, I'm so moved I could cry. Wyatt, get lost. Wyatt didn't head back to his dorm. Instead, he went straight to the C&W Commerce office. Christmas was on the 25th, which meant Christmas Eve was just around the corner. While Wyatt didn't personally care much for the holiday, he knew it was a big deal on a college campus. For most students, it was just an excuse to give gifts and go on dates with people they liked. For Wyatt, it was a golden opportunity to make money. He pushed open the office door and saw that Jessica, Ruby, Megan, Chris, and Alec were all there. He immediately made a call and summoned Sam and Valerie from the Fresh Market. Once everyone had assembled in the office, he got straight to business. Okay, I've called you all here to talk about a joint marketing campaign for Christmas between the company and the market. Ever since the weather got colder, business at the market has been slowing down. But Christmas Eve is our chance to turn that around. Valerie asked, what kind of campaign are we running? The theme is a Christmas wish. The main promotion is the more you buy, the more you get. I'm going to lay out what we need to prepare, so listen up. First, I need banners and pop-up displays made. We also need to source high-end gift boxes for the apples. They have to look premium, not cheap and flimsy, but just boxing up apples is old news. We're adding a twist. I want you to find a bunch of quotes online, love quotes, friendship quotes, family quotes, even inspirational stuff for students and teachers, and print them on little scrolls of paper. We'll roll them up and place one inside each box with the apple. Chris immediately asked, what kind of quotes? Mostly romantic ones, but get a good mix. Make sure you categorize them. When someone comes to buy an apple, we'll ask them who it's for. Imagine this, Wyatt continued, his eyes gleaming. You're dating someone. On Christmas Eve, you give them an apple you bought from our market. They open the box, and inside, besides the apple, there's a little scroll that says, I want to walk with you through every beautiful moment of life. How do you think they're going to feel? Alex let out an involuntary, well, I'm not done. Besides the notes, I want you to get a bunch of simple red string bracelets. We'll place them randomly in the boxes, like a blind box lottery. Some boxes will have them, some won't. At that point, the apple itself becomes secondary. I guarantee people will buy multiple boxes just to get a bracelet for their girlfriend. Wyatt grinned. I'm going to tie this promotion into our vending machines, too. The apple boxes need to be stocked in the machines by the end of next week. Until then, this entire plan is top secret. Only the people in this room can know. Now, for assignments. Alex, you're in charge of sourcing the banners, displays, gift boxes, and bracelets. Get the budget from Jessica. Got it. Chris, you're on the notes. Make sure the quotes have as little overlap as possible. Also, I need you to line up a couple of vans to transport the product from our campus to the other locations. No problem. Megan, once everything is ready, you'll coordinate with our campus reps. Have them hire a few daily temp workers for the 3 days leading up to Christmas Eve. We might need constant restocking, and I don't want them to get overwhelmed. Okay, Jessica, you just keep doing what you do as head of finance. MHM, Ruby, you're the floater. Help out wherever they need you. You got it. And Valerie, you and Sam will be in charge of packing. I'll have Kevin and Markham help you guys out. If you run into any problems, come to me. After Christmas, there will be rewards for a job well done, believe me. Wyatt finished the serious talk with a playful laugh, but as he looked around the room, he noticed the way his friends were looking at him had changed. 8 o'clock at night. Leo lay in bed, the curtain of his bunk drawn shut. He stared at Sophie's name on his phone's messenger, hesitating for a long time before finally typing out the first message. Sorry about today. The second he hit send, he immediately turned off the screen and set the phone aside, terrified to see her reply. He curled up under his blanket for what felt like an eternity before finally summoning the courage to pick it up again. He unlocked it cautiously. Just as the screen lit up, a notification from Sophie appeared. His heart skipped a beat. He covered his eyes with his hand, peeking through his fingers to read the message. It's okay. Phew. Leo let out a long sigh of relief. His heart still pounding, he typed, I didn't mean to, really. Sophie. I know Leo's mind went completely blank. He felt it was too soon to call Wyatt for backup, so he asked the first dumb thing that came to mind. Have you eaten yet? Sophie was a little taken aback by the message. She replied, a bit confused. It's already 8 o'clock. Who hasn't eaten by now? Leo wanted to slap himself. He quickly took a screenshot of the chat and sent it to Wyatt, followed by a frantic voice message. Bro, what do I say now? Wyatt had just gotten out of the shower. He heard the message and replied instantly. Ask about her age, hobbies, stuff like that. But don't get too detailed. This is the probing stage. If she starts replying with one-word answers like K or yep, you're basically dead in the water. If she plays along, it means you have a shot. Leo quickly messaged Sophie back. What year were you born? 96 or 97? Sophie, 96. You. Leo, me too. Leo, but you look really young. Sophie, are you saying I'm childish? Leo, no. Leo, that's not what I meant. Leo, I meant you look youthful. Sophie, so you think I'm actually old? Leo, oh no, not at all. He frantically screenshotted the exchange and sent it to Wyatt. Leo, Dad, help me. How do I answer this? Wyatt, say, I just think you're cute. Leo, isn't that too cheesy? Wyatt, are you questioning me? Leo hesitated for a moment, but decided to trust Wyatt. After all, when it came to this stuff, Wyatt was a million times better than him. With his heart racing, he typed, I just think you're cute. When Sophie's phone buzzed with Leo's message, she glanced at it, and her heart immediately started to pound. Her face felt hot. She quickly rummaged through her drawer for a hydrating face mask and slapped it on, then spent the next few minutes completely stumped on how to reply. This was the first time Leo had ever chatted with a girl he had a crush on. And while plenty of boys had liked Sophie in high school, it had always been from afar. This was the first time anyone had ever sent her a message like this. But Sophie's long silence was driving Leo insane. He quickly messaged Wyatt again. Bro, she's not replying. Wyatt, 10 to 1, she's just shy. Wyatt, you changed the subject. Talk about something else. Leo obediently did as he was told. As soon as he switched topics, Sophie's reply speed picked right back up. Seeing no more panic messages from Leo, Wyatt guessed the two were chatting smoothly. He left Leo to it and opened his chat with Cecilia, sending her a video call request. The timing was perfect. She had just climbed into bed. As soon as the call connected, Wyatt's face filled her screen. Cecilia laughed. Can you move your phone a little further away? I can see the boogers in your nose. Wyatt. No way, I just picked it. Cecilia. You're disgusting. Wyatt. Put your headphones in. Cecilia. Why? Wyatt. Just listen to me, put them in. Confused, Cecilia put in her earbuds. Wyatt then lowered his voice with a grin. Leo is chatting with Sophie right now. Can you check on her and see what her status is? Hearing this, Cecilia glanced down at the bunk below her. I can't see, she whispered back. She has her back to me, and she's wearing a face mask. Wyatt, she hasn't said anything to you guys about Leo, has she? Cecilia, no. Wyatt, good. Cecilia, why? Wyatt, because if she did, Leo would be the butt of the joke. Wyatt, what time does Sophie usually go to sleep? Cecilia, 9:30. Wyatt, I better give Leo a heads up. I'm afraid this idiot will get carried away and talk all night. He switched back to his chat with Leo and typed. She usually goes to sleep at 9:30. Don't drag it on forever. And remember to say good night when you're done. Leo got it. He'd done all he could. The rest was up to Leo. Wyatt went back to his video call with Cecilia, and time slipped away. 9:25 p.m. Leo, you have an 8 a.m. class tomorrow, right? Sophie, I do. Leo, it's getting late. You should get some sleep. Sophie, okay. A minute passed. Leo, so, good night. Another minute passed. Sophie, night. When Leo saw Sophie's final reply, the tight knot of anxiety in his chest finally loosened. Overjoyed, he took a screenshot of the chat, intending to send it to his mentor, Wyatt. But in his excitement, his thumb slipped. He sent the screenshot back to Sophie. Oblivious to his mistake and still floating on cloud nine, he then sent a voice message, thinking he was talking to Wyatt. Wyatt, I think I have a shot. I'm so damn excited right now. If you were here, I'd probably kiss you. If we get together, holy crap, I'll take you to the best restaurant in town. You'll be my best man at the wedding, and you'll be the godfather to our kids. Sophie, who had just climbed in her bunk to sleep, was puzzled by the 56-second voice message. They had just said good night. Why was he sending such a long message? She turned her phone's volume all the way down, then held it to her ear and hit play. The first sentence was enough for her to realize he'd sent it to the wrong person. But as she listened to the rest, her fair complexion flushed a brilliant shade of red. At that very moment, Leo was still reveling in his success. A minute later, he glanced at his phone, expecting a reply from Wyatt. That's when he saw it. He had sent the message to Sophie. Leo nearly fainted. With a trembling hand, he long pressed the voice message and hit unsend. The message disappeared, but it had been over a minute. He knew Sophie must have heard it. Socially annihilated on the spot, Leo suddenly knelt up in his bed and started banging his head against the wall. Thump, thump, thump. His 5 roommates stared, utterly dumbfounded. Was Leo tired of living? This was a new level of humiliation. Leo felt like he could never show his face in public again. After banging his head against the wall for a while, he realized it wasn't helping and frantically called Wyatt. The moment Wyatt put the phone to his ear, he was met with Leo's blood-curdling scream. Wyatt, I'm finished. Wyatt thought Sophie had rejected him. What happened? Leo, sighing and groaning, recounted the voice message catastrophe. Wyatt, however, remained unnervingly calm. Did you unsend the message? He asked. I did, Leo lamented, but I think she probably heard it already. It's not probably, she definitely heard it, Wyatt stated. If she hadn't, she would have seen the message retracted, notification, and asked you what you sent. Hearing this only deepened Leo's shame. It's not a big deal, Wyatt said coolly. It's better to get your intentions out in the open. You're not the type for playing games anyway. A direct approach is better for you. Are you serious, bro? What do I do now? Wyatt thought for a moment. Go to sleep. Tomorrow, act like nothing happened. And just keep talking to her. Will that work? If she also pretends she never heard the voice message, then you can be even bolder from now on. It's so embarrassing. It's only awkward if you make it awkward, Wyatt said. If you don't feel embarrassed, then she's the one who will be. Wyatt's words were prophetic. At that very moment, in dorm room 205, Sophie was lying in her bed, her heart thumping wildly. She stared at the ceiling, her face flushed and her head spinning. That voice message from Leo was more direct than any confession of love. A confession was just I like you or I love you. But what had Leo said? Marriage, kids. They had only known each other for 2 days. How could he say things like that? What an idiot. Like Seeks like, he must have been corrupted by Wyatt. Sophie was usually the first in her dorm to fall asleep, but tonight she was the last, tossing and turning for hours. A new week began, feeling as though the weekend had never happened. Wyatt and his roommates poured all their energy into the Christmas Eve promotion. Wyatt had already contacted his Apple supplier at the wholesale market and ordered at least 1,000 boxes. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Wyatt was swamped. On Thursday afternoon, he and Chris skipped a philosophy class and had just arrived at the office when a middle-aged man with glasses and a buzz cut knocked on the door. Ruby, at the front desk, noticed the man was wearing a small pin on his lapel and immediately recognized him as a university administrator. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked politely. Jessica, who was at her computer calculating accounts, heard the voice, turned, and immediately stood up. Director Wong. The visitor was none other than Wong Weidong, the director of Fordham's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Education Center. He was a colleague and friend of her uncle, Peter Evans. Jessica had dealt with Director Wong several times when applying for the office space, and thanks to her uncle's connection, he had approved it quickly. Director Wong surveyed the room and smiled. "Not bad. It's really starting to look like a proper office. You all work fast." Wyatt also shot up from his chair, giving Ruby a look that meant go make tea, and hurried over. "Director Wong, hello. I'm Wyatt, Jessica's partner." Perhaps because of Jessica, Director Wong was all smiles. He accepted the tea from Ruby and got straight to the point. "I just came by to see how you're setting up the office. The university is always very supportive of student entrepreneurs. This office isn't large, but it's more than enough for a startup. You should cherish this opportunity and strive to achieve something." "We will," Wyatt and Jessica said in unison. "I mainly came to check on your progress and to tell you about something that might be helpful." Jessica frowned slightly. "What is it?" Director Wong handed an invitation to Wyatt. The NYC Department of Education, the Tech Council, and the Youth Federation are jointly hosting the NYC New Youth Venture Capital Conference this Friday through Sunday. Our university has one slot, and I thought you might want to attend. You can learn a lot. "Absolutely," Wyatt said immediately. "We'll definitely be there." Director Wong took a sip of tea and nodded with a smile. "All right, I'll let you get back to it. Work hard and make a name for yourselves." "We will. Take care, Director Wong." After he left, Chris stood up. "Who was that?" "The director of the university's Entrepreneurship Center," Jessica explained. "He's in charge of everything related to student startups." "Oh, Wyatt, are we really going to that venture capital thing you mentioned?" Chris asked. "I'll go by myself," Wyatt said with a dismissive smile. "These kinds of officially sponsored events are always rigged. The projects that get funding are usually decided beforehand. Everyone else is just there for show." "Then why are you going?" Wyatt picked up the invitation. "You never know. I might meet a few investors, expand my network." Leo's mood for the past few days had been a roller coaster. After sending the catastrophic voice message on the weekend, he barely slept. The next morning, he sent Sophie a simple morning, but she didn't reply all morning, and he was convinced it was over. Then, during his lunch break, a message from Sophie appeared. She said she'd been in class all morning and hadn't had time to check her phone. Leo's hopes were instantly rekindled. That night, they were chatting pleasantly when Sophie suddenly stopped replying. Leo, paranoid he'd said something wrong, reread their chat history multiple times, but couldn't find anything amiss. The next morning, around 6, a message from her came in. Her phone had suddenly frozen, so she'd put on the charger and accidentally fallen asleep. She even apologized. They kept in touch on Wednesday and Thursday. On Friday, filled with a sudden burst of courage, Leo asked during their chat, "Our schools are pretty close. Could I come see you this weekend? We could hang out." Sophie took a long time to reply. First, she wrote, "I might have plans this weekend." Then she changed it to, "I'm not ready for that yet." And then finally, "You could come with Wyatt." Leo had no idea what to make of this. He immediately asked Wyatt for help. After seeing the chat history, Wyatt replied, "She thinks your relationship is moving too fast. You need to slow it down." Leo, "Are you going to see your girlfriend this week?" Wyatt, "Not sure if I'll have time. I'm in a car right now, on my way to a venture capital event." Leo, "Well, when you do go see your girlfriend, you have to take me with you." Wyatt, "I have a bad memory." Leo, "Dad." The NYC Youth Venture Capital Conference was held at the NYC Innovation Hub. Wyatt had to take 2 different subway lines to get there. The venue was packed, and the entrance was lined with all sorts of luxury cars. In addition to young entrepreneurs and city officials, a number of investors had been invited to lend prestige to the event. The afternoon consisted mainly of a kickoff meeting, long-winded speeches from officials, followed by impassioned presentations from a representative entrepreneur and investor. Finally, the highest-ranking official would declare the conference officially open. Wyatt showed his invitation to the security guard and entered the main hall. People hadn't all arrived yet and were gathered in small groups, chatting. Wyatt had intended to network, but after approaching a few people and finding they dismissed him due to his age, he gave up trying to force it. He found an empty seat in the back row, planning to slip out once the meeting started. At 2:20 p.m., the host took the stage and announced that the conference was about to begin, asking all attendees to take their seats. The standing crowd quickly settled. With just 5 minutes ago, someone tapped him on the shoulder. "Hey man, is this seat taken?" Wyatt turned his head, froze for a second, and then a grin spread across his face. No, the guy was a mountain, at least 6 feet tall, and well over 200 pounds. The moment Wyatt saw him, he felt a jolt of recognition. As the guy settled into the seat next to him, it clicked. "Are you P.D.?" Wyatt asked, his voice full of surprise. The guy, whose real name was Lou Mao, looked equally shocked. "You know me?" That confirmed it. Wyatt hadn't been mistaken. This guy was a former professional League of Legends player who went by the game ID PDD. He had only retired in June of that year and was likely starting his career as a streamer. He was destined for massive success, becoming a huge online celebrity, thanks to a couple of viral memes. Right now, though, his fame was still limited. If he didn't play League, you probably wouldn't recognize him. "I play a little League now and then," Wyatt said. "Ah, that explains it." Wyatt was curious why a gamer would be at a business conference. "What brings you here?" he asked directly. PD shrugged. "I'm here for my dad. Just showing my face, then I'm bouncing." "Same here." Wyatt only knew of him, not much about him. After a brief exchange, they both went back to their phones. Once the conference began, PDD snapped a few pictures with his phone. The speaker on stage hadn't even been talking for 2 minutes before PDD was already getting antsy. Wyatt watched him push back his chair and stand up to leave, then decided to follow suit. Just as they stepped out of the hall, a clear voice called out, "Lou Mao, Lou Mao." Wyatt didn't pay much attention at first, scrolling through his phone as he walked toward the street. A young man in jeans and a down jacket ran up to PDD, walking and talking animatedly beside him. "Our game has gained a lot of fans since its release, with over 100,000 downloads this month alone. Would you be willing to try it out and then seriously consider investing in us?" "Come man, I really don't know anything about investing. You'd have to talk to my dad about that. But you know games. The game our company made is completely different from anything else on the market right now. Seriously, you'll know once you play it. I really don't have time today. Can you just take a look? Some other time." PD mercilessly walked to the curb, flagged down a taxi, and hopped in. The car pulled away before the young man, "Kai-Hao-You," could finish a sentence. Only then did Wyatt look up at the person who had suddenly appeared. Seeing his dejected expression, Wyatt approached him. "Hi, sorry to butt in, but what game are you talking about?" Kai-Hao-You turned to look at Wyatt and sighed. "Guns, girls, guns, girl." Wyatt's eyes went wide with shock. Kai-Hao-You looked at him, curious. "What's wrong?" Wyatt quickly shook his head and stepped closer. "Can I see it?" Kai-Hao-You generously handed over his phone. Wyatt took it, glanced at the screen, and immediately handed it back. He fumbled in his pocket, pulled out a business card, and offered it to him. "My name is Wyatt. This is my card. And you are?" Kai-Hao-You. As he spoke, he also produced a business card from his pocket and handed it to Wyatt. After exchanging cards, they both looked down and read them. Then, both of their faces registered surprise. Kai-Hao-You was stunned that someone so young was already the owner of a company. Wyatt was stunned by the 3 large characters on the card. "MiHoYo, would you be free to talk somewhere? I'm very interested in your game." If Wyatt hadn't produced that business card, Kai-Hao-You would have politely declined. But now he readily agreed. They crossed the street to a Starbucks. Wyatt ordered 2 lattes, and after finding a corner table, he began. "I heard you talking to PDD about an investment." "That's right. I approached his father before, but he felt our company's profit model was too narrow and lacked sustainability. That's why I want to talk to his son. After all, he's a gamer." Wyatt frowned. "But didn't you say the game's download numbers were good?" "We spent a lot on promotion," Kai-Hao-You explained. "Even though the downloads are high, the distribution channels take a huge cut. We're looking for investment to fund our next project." Wyatt fell silent for a moment, then said with practiced sincerity, "I'm very interested in your game. If I were to invest, would you be open to a partnership?" Kai-Hao-You was taken aback. He smiled faintly. "We need a significant amount of capital." "How much do you need?" $1 million. "For how much equity?" 8%. "I want 10%, Wyatt countered smoothly. "But I won't be involved in the management of your company. In other words, if the company loses money, I'll take the hit. If it makes money, I just want my dividends." Kai-Hao-You, born in '87 and an engineer by trade, was a straightforward person. "I have 2 other partners. I need to go back and discuss this with him. But regardless of the outcome, I will call you. No problem. Do you mind if I ask your age? Wyatt smiled. I'm a freshman in college. MiHoYo was stunned, then shook his head with a sigh. I didn't start my own business until my last year of grad school. I can't believe you're already an entrepreneur as a freshman. Just got lucky. Have you played our game before? I spend most of my time on work, so I don't have much free time. I'm aware of it, but I haven't actually played it. However, I believe you've carved out a new path in the gaming industry. As long as you stick to your vision, you're bound to make a huge splash in the future. Wyatt spoke eloquently and with passion. Listening to him, MiHoYo felt a sudden sense of kinship, as if he had found someone who truly understood. Meanwhile, Wyatt was desperately suppressing the wild, frantic thumping of his own heart. Who was MiHoYo? The co-founder, CEO, and chairman of MiHoYo. In 2011, he and a few roommates started the MiHoYo studio in their dorm room at Shanghai Jiaotong University. By 2022, his personal fortune would exceed 50 billion yuan, placing him among the world's richest people. But right now, he was just the founder of a little-known game studio. However, anyone who knew the company's trajectory knew that in 2015, they would release Honkai Impact 3RD. That game would launch MiHoYo into the stratosphere. For Wyatt, this was a fortune of cosmic proportions falling into his lap. He managed to suppress his excitement and chat with MiHoYo for over half an hour. Finally, they left the Starbucks and parted ways. Watching MiHoYo's taxi disappear down the street, Wyatt nearly jumped for joy. If he seized this opportunity, it would be more profitable than opening 10 trading companies. The only problem was, if they accepted his terms, how on earth was he going to come up with $1 million? Sell the house? No, his mom would break his legs. Borrow from someone? Not likely. The richest person he knew was Chris, but his father kept him on a tight leash. There was no way he could get that much money, and Wyatt wouldn't feel right asking. The reality was, at best, he could scrape together maybe $200,000 from his market profits and investment account. Selling the fresh market would only net him another few tens of thousands. It wasn't even a third of what he needed. For the first time, despite having a healthy balance in his investment account, Wyatt felt utterly broke. He pondered the problem all the way back to campus. At 7:30 p.m., his parents, David and Sarah, video called him. Wyatt dutifully answered. Sarah, sweetie, have you eaten? Wyatt, just finished. Sarah asked with a warm smile. When does your school let out for winter break? Wyatt pushed the money problem to the back of his mind. He knew his mom was asking because she missed him and wanted to know when he was coming home. If there was one sentence guaranteed to instantly disappoint a mother, it was, Mom, I'm not coming home for the holidays this year. Wyatt forced a smile. The new year isn't until mid-February this year, so school should let out in early February. Sarah, come home as soon as break starts, okay? Wyatt, I know. Sarah, is the allowance your dad gives you every month enough? Wyatt, $1,500 is plenty. My roommate only gets $1,000 a month. Sarah's brow furrowed immediately. $1,500? Your dad only sent you $1,500. Wyatt was confused. Yeah, is there a problem? Suddenly, his parents' faces vanished from the screen, replaced by the sounds of his mother's shouting and his father's pained yelps. David, you bastard. I told you to send him $1,700 a month. You dare to skim $200 off the top. Didn't you hear him say $1,500 was enough? Where's the money? Well, last month, old Wu from work took me for a foot massage, so this month I returned the favor. Foot massage, is it? Go to the kitchen and get me the steel wool. I'll give you a foot massage. You can't wash feet with steel wool. Don't talk back. Ow, it hurts. 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 I'll teach you to go to a foot massage parlor. Take that. Wyatt listened for a moment longer before quietly hanging up. He sighed, the million-dollar problem resurfacing and casting a shadow over his face. Chris, behind him, heard the sigh. Wyatt, what's wrong? Is there any way to get a lot of money quickly? Wyatt asked, why do you need more money? Isn't our company already profitable? And you have all the profits from the market, too. I found a project I want to invest in, Wyatt explained. It needs $1 million. That much? Chris thought for a moment. The only way is a bank loan. A personal loan probably won't cover that much, but we could try for a business loan. Even then, since we're a newly formed small business, I'm not sure they'd give us that much. A loan was indeed the most logical option. Even with high interest, it would be worth it. An investment in MiHoYo would multiply that million several times over within a year. The thought alone naturally led him to Charles, Cecilia's father. He was the perfect person to ask. Wyatt felt their relationship had thawed since their last meeting. Charles had even contacted him a few times to ask about Cecilia, and Wyatt had always been honest with him. He felt confident Charles would respond if he reached out now. However, until MiHoYo contacted him, there was no need to rush. That could lead to mistakes. Plugging his phone in to charge, Wyatt went to the bathroom for a shower. When he came out, Chris said, "Your phone was ringing earlier." Wyatt tossed his dirty clothes in the hamper and walked over to his desk. He picked up his phone and saw a missed voice call from Cecilia. He replied via text, "Give me 20 minutes, just need to wash some clothes." Cecilia, K. Wyatt had intended to just give his clothes a quick scrub with soap, but remembering what Cecilia had said last time, he grabbed Chris's bottle of laundry detergent, poured some into the bucket, and stirred around until he could smell the fresh scent. 15 minutes later, clothes washed, Wyatt dried his hands and climbed into his bunk with his phone. He plugged in his headphones, pulled the covers up, and dialed Cecilia's voice call. "Cecilia, exactly 20 minutes. You were almost late." Wyatt, "And what would have happened if I was late?" Cecilia, "Then I would have waited 20 minutes before answering your call." Wyatt, "You're ruthless. How could you do that to me?" Cecilia, "It's the weekend again tomorrow." This week went by pretty fast. Wyatt, "I'm not coming over tomorrow. I'll come on Sunday just for the day." Cecilia, "Why?" Cecilia, "Are you out of money?" She thought he was choosing a day trip because he couldn't afford a hotel, and she was about to offer to book a room for him. But Wyatt quickly explained, "I have to stay on campus tomorrow to oversee the promotion stuff. There's always someone missing during the week, so the weekend is the only time everyone is here. If I leave, they won't have anyone to make decisions." Hearing his explanation, Cecilia just said, "Oh." Wyatt quickly changed the subject with a laugh. "Let me test you with a riddle." Cecilia, "Go ahead." Wyatt, "Why don't scientists trust atoms?" Cecilia, "I don't know." Wyatt, "Think about it. It's a classic. If you can't get it, you can ask Isabelle and the others." Cecilia thought for a while but still couldn't figure it out. She actually relayed the riddle to her 3 roommates, who all just looked at each other, completely stumped. Cecilia, "They don't know either." "What's the answer?" Wyatt, "Because they make up everything." Cecilia was silent for 2 seconds. Then, as the joke landed, she burst out laughing, falling back on her bed. About 3 minutes later, a message popped up on Wyatt's phone from Leo. "Leo, bro, got a riddle for you. Why don't scientists trust atoms?" Saturday, cloudy. At 8 in the morning, Wyatt roused Chris and Alex from their beds. They split up. Chris went to the print shop to pick up the banners, displays, and printed notes, while Wyatt and Alex went to the mail center to get the apple boxes and red string bracelets, bringing everything to the fresh market. The group spent the morning packing apples, with Wyatt supervising. "Chris, did you find the drivers?" "All set," Chris said with a grin. "There are a ton of unofficial taxis hanging around the campus entrance. I talked to 2 guys with vans and they were happy to do it. Said they're available whenever we need them." Wyatt nodded. "We'll pack 1 batch today. Have the drivers come tomorrow to transport the first shipment to the schools where our vending machines are installed." "Don't worry." "Alex, what are you looking at?" "Get back to packing." Alex rolled up a small scroll of paper and chuckled. "Some of the stuff on these notes is pretty cheesy. You don't have a girlfriend. What are you reading them for?" Chris shot back. "Damn it, Chris. Why do you always have to hit me where it hurts?" As the friendly banter filled the store, Wyatt was about to join in when his phone rang. It was MiHoYo. Wyatt quickly stepped outside to take the call. MiHoYo got straight to the point. "Wyatt, our team had a long discussion last night, and we've reached a decision." And Wyatt's heart hammered against his ribs. "We can accept your investment for a 10% stake," MiHoYo said. "But I need to know how soon the fund can be transferred." "When do you need it?" "The sooner, the better." Wyatt clenched his jaw. "Send me the company's bank account information. We'll sign a contract, and I'll transfer the money by next Wednesday." "Okay, call me if there are any issues." "Will do." After hanging up, Wyatt's expression turned grim. He'd had no other choice. If his tone had been anything less than certain, MiHoYo's team might have changed their minds, and the opportunity would have slipped through his fingers. He had a bluff and set the deadline for Wednesday. He stood outside for a moment, collecting his thoughts, then went back into the store to give a few instructions. He left the market and, as he walked back toward his dorm, sent a message to Charles. "Wyatt, Mr. Chin, are you busy?" It was Saturday, so the bank was closed. Charles had no lunch meetings and was contemplating whether to drop by Miranda's place for a meal and broach the subject of spending New Year's Eve together. Seeing Wyatt's message, he replied quickly, "Not busy." "What's up?" "Wyatt, I wanted to ask you a question about business loans." "Charles, business loans." "Charles, why are you looking into that?" "Wyatt, I need a sum of money." "Wyatt, for investment." "Charles, you don't have enough?" "Wyatt, no." Charles already knew Wyatt had over $100,000. He was puzzled. What kind of investment could a college student be making that required more than that? Charles thought for a moment and decided to call. Wyatt had hoped for a call. It was much more direct than texting. He answered immediately. Is your company having problems? Charles asked. No, the company is doing great. But this is a rare opportunity, and I don't want to miss it. How much do you need? $1 million. $1 million. Charles was astonished. That's a huge amount of money. Never mind whether you can get a loan. Have you considered the consequences if the investment fails? I'm confident in myself, Wyatt said firmly. You just need to tell me if a loan is possible, and if so, what the procedures are. I'm not familiar with the situation in New York, Charles said, but generally, small business loans require at least 3 things. The business has to be in operation for over 2 years. It needs a good credit history, and it has to have an established relationship with a bank. Mr. Chen, is there any way you can help me think of something? I really need this money. Maybe you know some private lenders? I don't mind a higher interest rate. Are you crazy? Charles snapped. Don't you dare get involved with loan sharks. Stay put. Wait for my call. Charles hung up abruptly. As a bank president, he knew that a college student like Wyatt would almost certainly be rejected for a loan of that size, even with policies encouraging student entrepreneurship. But hearing Wyatt mention loan sharks scared him. He didn't dare say no outright, fearing Wyatt would do something reckless. Charles sat on his sofa, thinking. He quickly grabbed his car keys and drove to Maple Creek Estates. Parking his car, he rang the doorbell and smoothed down his shirt. This was the downside of not having a woman around. His clothes were always wrinkled. The door clicked and swung open. Miranda stood there, arms crossed, a cold expression on her face. What are you doing here? Do you have any slippers? I haven't invited you in yet. Charles sighed in exasperation. Wyatt just called me. That got her attention. She turned. Slippers are on the rack. With the black ones. If you wear the wrong pair, next time you can come in barefoot. Charles, unfazed, put on the black slippers, stepped into the living room, and closed the door behind him. What did Wyatt want? Miranda asked. She knew his relationship with Charles had been tense. Even though Charles's opinion of him had improved after his trip to New York, they weren't on let's chat on the phone terms. She was curious. You'd better talk some sense into him, Charles said quickly. The kid called me asking about business loans. Said he needs to borrow $1 million for an investment. I told him he couldn't get that much, and he actually started thinking about getting it from loan sharks. A loan for an investment? What is he investing in? How should I know? You didn't ask? You were the one who told me he made over $100,000 in half a year. That proves he has good business sense. He wants to borrow that much money, and you didn't even ask what he was investing in. What good would it do if I asked? Charles shot back. Where am I going to get him $1 million? Miranda ignored him, took out her phone, and dialed Wyatt. He picked up on the first ring. Hello, Aunt Miranda. What investment do you need $1 million for? A game company. A game company? Yes. $1 million is not a small sum. Have you thought about what happens if you lose it all? Even if I lose it, my company's current profits are enough to pay it back. But if I win, the returns could be unimaginable. Miranda paused for a moment, then asked, how much money do you have yourself right now? All things considered, maybe around 200,000. 200,000? Your uncle said it was over 100,000 last time. The company and the market have steady income, and the stock market has been doing great. To be honest, I'd rather not use that money. Well, Miranda said slowly, I happen to have some money. Charles shot to his feet. Miranda, are you crazy? She ignored him and continued. But I have conditions. What conditions? Wyatt asked. I'll lend you the $1 million, Miranda said. You have to pay me back monthly within 2 years, plus interest at the bank's fixed deposit rate. In addition, Cecilia gets a 10% stake in your new investment company. Wyatt thought for a moment, then replied, no problem. I can accept all those conditions. In fact, I've already thought of a name for the investment company. See? Investments. Miranda smiled. You haven't even asked me what happens if you can't pay me back. Wyatt played along. What happens? I'll require you to marry into our family. Huh. Wyatt's head was buzzing. So if he couldn't pay back the money, he'd have to become a kept husband? Aunt Miranda, are you joking? Not at all. With his godlike perspective on the future, Wyatt knew this investment couldn't possibly fail, and he certainly wouldn't be unable to repay the loan. He agreed instantly. Okay, I accept. Miranda was surprised by his quick agreement. She laughed. Then you'll have to come back to Riverwood for a bit. This is a large sum, after all, and don't let Cecilia know about this. Deal. Wyatt didn't hesitate. $1 million was a fortune in 2014. Even Charles couldn't produce that much on short notice. Miranda worked for a foreign multinational and was paid exceptionally well. Her salary had always been higher than Charles's, which was likely a contributing factor in their divorce. If she had been a regular office worker or a housewife, she would have had more time for Cecilia, and she and Charles might not have fought so often. After hanging up, Wyatt immediately booked a high-speed rail ticket back to Riverwood for that evening. Meanwhile, in the villa at Maple Creek Estates, Charles was fuming. "Miranda, I think you've really lost it." Miranda shot him a dismissive look. "None of your business." Charles was speechless. He really had no right to interfere in her affairs. They were divorced, after all. Miranda poured herself a glass of hot water and took a sip. "If Wyatt can pay back this money, I can entrust Cecilia to him with peace of mind. If he can't, then this money will be my gift to his parents, a bride price if you will. After he and Cecilia are married, I'll arrange his future for him. Either outcome is acceptable to me. Think of it as a test." Charles sighed heavily and sank onto the sofa, his face a mask of misery. "You're so generous. Do you have anything else to say?" Miranda asked, annoyed. "If not, get out. I just got here 10 minutes ago." "You're an eyesore." Charles grabbed a throw pillow, hugging it like a petulant child. "I'm not leaving." Miranda was stunned. She had never seen him act so childishly before. Whenever they argued in the past, he would leave the second she told him to. She turned away, a small smile playing on her lips, and started up the stairs with her water. "I have one more thing to say," Charles called out. Miranda paused on the steps. "Spit it out. I'm coming over for New Year's Eve dinner this year." "Why would you do that?" "I already promised Cecilia." "That's your business." "I didn't agree to it." "Miranda, don't push it," Charles said, his voice rising. "I will be here on New Year's Eve. The only way you're stopping me is if you throw me out in front of Cecilia." Miranda didn't bother to reply, disappearing around the corner of the staircase with a smile. Charles, true to his word, didn't leave. He took out his phone, stretched out on the sofa, and settled in defiant. Wyatt went back to his dorm to pack a few things, then sent a message to his advisor, Ms. Sutton, requesting leave. Ms. Sutton replied immediately. "Reason for leave?" Wyatt typed back, "My dad broke his foot and is in the hospital. I'm going back to see him. I'll be back by Monday afternoon." She responded with a simple okay. Wyatt slung a shoulder bag on, stopped by the Fresh Market to give a few instructions, then had Chris give him a ride to the subway station on his electric scooter. The route to the main train station passed by Juilliard. Since he had already promised Cecilia he would see her the next day, he decided to stop by and explain the situation in person. An hour and 25 minutes later, he arrived at the entrance to the Juilliard campus. He walked to the girls' dorm building and dialed Cecilia's number. "Hello. Go out onto your dorm balcony," Wyatt said. Huh. Wyatt didn't say anything else. He could already hear the scrape of a chair on the floor. It was clear she was already on her feet. Cecilia walked out onto the balcony and looked down to see Wyatt standing at the entrance. She was about to speak, but, not wanting to disturb anyone, quickly hung up and ran down the 2 flights of stairs. "You lied to me again," she said, the first words out of her mouth as she reached him. "You said you were coming tomorrow. Why are you here today?" "Something came up last minute," Wyatt said with a smile. "I have to go back to Riverwood for a bit tonight. I'll be back on Monday." Cecilia's pretty eyebrows knitted together. "What is it?" she asked, curious. If Miranda hadn't told him to keep it quiet, Wyatt would have been honest. Instead, he scratched his head. "It's not a big deal. I'll be back soon. I was on my way to the station and passing by, so I figured I'd tell you in person. I was afraid you'd be upset if I just told you over the phone." Cecilia pouted slightly. "What time do you leave?" Wyatt took out his phone. "My train is around 6. I got about an hour. Then come with me." Cecilia grabbed his wrist and pulled him toward the campus gate. "Where are we going?" "To eat." "I'm not hungry. You have a long train right ahead of you." Wyatt grinned and followed along. He shamelessly held up the wrist with her black hair tie on it, dangling it under her nose. "See? I haven't taken it off all week. Smell it. It's probably got my scent now." Cecilia slapped his hand away, rolling her eyes. "Gross. Get that away from me." She took him to a small restaurant. Since she wasn't hungry, she just ordered a deluxe combo meal for him. Though Wyatt wasn't hungry either, he ate quickly to make her happy. She sat across from him, resting her chin in her hands and watching him eat, a constant smile on her face. In about 7 minutes, he had finished the entire meal. He let out a small burp. "I'm stuffed." Cecilia pointed at his face, her eyes crinkling with laughter. "You have a grain of rice on your cheek. Who are you saving it for?" Wyatt grabbed a napkin, wiped his mouth, and stood up. "Okay, I'm full. Let's go for a walk so I can digest." "Okay." The scenery outside the school wasn't as nice as the small grove of trees on campus, so they walked back the way they came. After about 20 minutes, they found a bench under a large tree and sat down. Some things, when done enough, become habits. The first time they had held hands was during the summer, in the bank, when Cecilia had done it to spite her father. But that was just an act. After that, it was always Wyatt who initiated, and at first, Cecilia would shy away or resist. But now, as soon as they sat down, Their hands found each other naturally. Wyatt began telling her about his week. The mundane details of his life, like the new cafeteria lady who always spilled food, the new cheap snack shop that opened on the food truck strip, and the pervert the RA had caught stealing girls' underwear 3 nights ago. Cecilia listened for a while. Then, remembering his train, she took out her phone to check the time. Shouldn't you be heading out? It's fine. Let's sit for a little longer. Your lips are chapped. Yeah, it's so dry in the winter. I have lip balm in my dorm. I'll go get it for you. As she said this, she started to get up, but Wyatt pulled her back down. He sat there, holding her hand, and smiled. Don't bother. I'll just borrow some of yours. Before she could process what he meant, Wyatt stood up, took a step forward, and looked down at her. Cecilia froze, her head tilted up, her watery eyes looking back at him. She seemed to guess what he was about to do. In a moment she blinked, the bad boy in front of her leaned down and unapologetically covered her mouth with his. Cecilia's eyes snapped shut, her whole body tensing instantly. Wyatt gave her a light, fleeting kiss, then shamelessly licked his own lips. Me grinned. Strawberry. Cecilia's face was on fire. Coming back to her senses, she quickly pushed Wyatt away. I should get back to my dorm, she said, her words rushed. Text me when you get to Riverwood. After her rapid-fire sentence, she turned and practically ran back toward the dorms. Wyatt just smiled, slung his bag over his shoulder, and headed for the campus gate. Cecilia stood on her balcony, watching him walk away. Only then did she return to her seat, a dazed expression on her face, her mind replaying the feeling of that moment. Getting his ticket, going through security, boarding the train. At 6:08 p.m., the high-speed train departed on time. It wasn't a holiday, so the carriage was nearly empty. After boarding, Wyatt played on his phone for a bit, then pulled down the small tray table and fell asleep. When he opened his eyes again, it was past 10 o'clock. There was an unread message on his phone from Miranda. Miranda, when do you arrive? Wyatt, already on the train. I should get to Riverwood Station around 11:15. Miranda, have you told your family? Wyatt, not yet. I wanted to surprise my mom. Miranda, then I'll pick you up. Wyatt, don't trouble yourself. And Miranda. Wyatt, I could just take a taxi home. Miranda, text me when you get off the train. When Miranda made up her mind, no one could change it. Wyatt had no choice but to reply with a simple, okay. An hour later, the display screen in the carriage finally announced their impending arrival at Riverwood Station. As soon as the train stopped, Wyatt was one of the first to get off. He navigated the familiar station and walked outside, immediately spotting Miranda's car. He jogged over. Seeing he only had one bag, Miranda waved him into the passenger seat. Does Cecilia know you're back in Riverwood? She asked as he buckled his seatbelt. She knows, Wyatt said with a smile. I went to see her before I left for the station. Miranda nodded, her hands on the steering wheel. From what I know of you, you aren't an impulsive person. So this $1 million investment, you must have thought it through carefully before making this decision, correct? Of course, Wyatt answered honestly. If I hadn't, I would never try to borrow so much money. Miranda smiled. $1 million is a considerable sum for me as well. So before I give you the money, we need to sign a contract. That's only fair. Are you going to tell your parents about this? No need, Wyatt said with a confident smile. I have faith in myself. Miranda paused for a moment, then asked in a teasing tone, if your investment succeeds and you become richer and richer, you won't start looking down on my Cecilia, will you? Power corrupts and rich men stray. Miranda had seen plenty of examples in her own social circle. Tycoons who started from nothing, only to discard the partners who had struggled alongside them, keeping mistresses on the side. Her question might have sounded like a joke, but it was a test. Anyone else might have missed the underlying meaning, but Wyatt understood perfectly. Of course not. You can rest assured on that, Aunt Miranda. He turned to look at her, matching her playful tone. If you don't believe me, once Cecilia and I graduate, you can work on convincing her to go get a marriage license with me first. Miranda laughed out loud. You wish. I won't let Cecilia marry you until your career is taken off. And if your investment fails, you'll still have to marry into our family. That won't happen. We'll see. I'll be watching. The car stopped at the entrance to Wyatt's neighborhood. He got out, waved goodbye as Miranda drove away, then headed home with his bag slung over his shoulder. Late at night, David, his mouth dry, slipped out of bed, careful not to wake his sleeping wife. He tiptoed to the kitchen, poured half a cup of hot water from the thermos into his insulated mug, added some cool water, and chugged it down. He refilled it with more hot water, then opened a cabinet, grabbed a handful of goji berries from a packet meant for soup, and dropped them into his mug. A man in middle age has no choice. His thermos must be filled with goji berries. David was at that age, plagued by a sore back and aching waist. Whether at home or at work, He was now accustomed to sipping a mug of goji berry tea. He screwed the lid on his mug and was about to head back to the bedroom when he remembered something. He stopped, walked over to the sofa, lifted the cushion, and fished out a handful of loose cash. 5s, 10s, 20s. It was all change he had skimmed from the grocery money Sarah had given him. This was just his petty cash. David had a more reliable method. He'd get a bit of used motor oil from a mechanic, pour it under his car, then take a picture and send it to Sarah, claiming the car was leaking oil and needed a few hundred for repairs. Sarah would usually nag him a bit, then transfer $200 or $300, which he would pocket as spending money. But the last time he tried that trick, Sarah had gotten suspicious. If that piece of junk leaks oil one more time, just sell it, she'd yelled. So now, he didn't dare use that trick anymore. David sat on the sofa, smoothing out the crumpled bills, and began to count. 15, 20, 30, 35. Just as he reached 125, a sudden, urgent knocking came from the door. Knock, knock, knock. Before David could react, Sarah's voice came from the bedroom. Who's knocking so late? She stumbled out in her slippers and flipped on the living room light. David, a handful of cash clutched in his hand, found himself staring at his wife. Sarah thought she was dreaming. She rubbed her eyes. David, what are you doing on the sofa in the middle of the night? And nothing. Just thirsty, got up for some water. David quickly hid the money between his legs before she could see it. The knocking came again. Coming, Sarah mumbled, walking over to open the door. She was met by Wyatt, standing there with a wide grin. Sarah was shocked. Wyatt, why are you back? Did you get into trouble at school? Mom, can you please have a little faith in me? Wyatt rolled his eyes, squeezed past her into the living room, and offered a quick excuse. You asked me on the phone Friday when I was coming home. My professor canceled class on Monday, so I have a 3-day weekend. I just bought a ticket and came back. Why didn't you give me a heads up? I wanted to surprise you. In the middle of the night, it's more of a scare than a surprise. Despite her words, Sarah headed straight for the kitchen, her face beaming with joy. There are dumplings in the fridge, and we have leftover bone broth from tonight. I can make you a bowl of noodles. What do you want? Dumplings would be great. David stood up to help in the kitchen. He had only taken 2 steps when Wyatt pointed to the floor. Dad, you dropped $20. Sarah poked her head out of the kitchen. I confiscated all your dad's pocket money for the month. Where would he get? Her words trailed off as she saw the $20 bill lying on the floor. David, honey, let me explain. Sarah advanced on him, spatula in hand. David scrambled away, yelling over his shoulder, You little bastard. I must have owed you in a past life. In the next life, I'm the son, and you can be the dad. After a harsh interrogation, David finally surrendered all the loose cash in his pockets to Sarah. He then slumped onto the sofa, looking utterly defeated. Wyatt put his backpack in his room and came out to sit next to his dad. He slung an arm over his shoulder. Dad, I didn't do it on purpose, he said sheepishly. Get lost, David grumbled. Wyatt chuckled. It's just $100 or so. I'll transfer it to you right now. I don't need it, David said stubbornly. That was his hard-earned private stash. No matter what, he wasn't about to take money from his son. Dad, come on, it's me, Wyatt said. Look, I'll be honest with you. I partnered with a classmate, and we opened a fresh market at school. We make about $10,000 a month. He didn't dare mention the trading company. If his parents knew he had close to $200,000, they'd suspect he was doing something illegal. So even with the market, he deliberately lowballed the profits. But David's eyes still went wide. He only made $4,000 or $5,000 a month at his job. Even with bonuses and benefits, it averaged out to $6,000 or $7,000 at best. The idea that Wyatt was earning $10,000 a month was completely unbelievable to him. Seeing his dad's disbelief, Wyatt took out his phone, opened his Venmo, and showed him the payment notifications. When David saw the endless stream of payments to the market, some for a few dollars, some for a few dozen, he was stunned. You really make $10,000 a month? Yep. You little rascal. You just started college, and you're already making more than your old man. Wyatt asked with a sly grin. Should we tell Mom? Not for now. Why not? Right now, the highlight of her month is video calling you to ask if you have enough money. If you don't even need an allowance from us anymore, she won't have anything to nag you about. Wyatt thought for a moment and nodded. Good point. David quickly took out his own phone. Quick, transfer me some money. Your mom has me on such a tight leash, I don't even have enough for a pack of cigarettes. Dad, can you please not call yourself your old man all the time? Am I not your old man? You just said you wanted me to be the dad. David slapped him lightly on the back of the head. Insolent brat. Hearing the noise, Sarah poked her head out. David, what are you doing? Nothing, David said guiltily. Just asking him about school. Wyatt took out his phone to transfer the money. David saw him and immediately said, Don't use text pay. Why? Your mom checks my phone. Send it to my Venmo. Wyatt dutifully opened Venmo and sent his dad $2,000, adding a reminder, spend it wisely, okay? David responded on autopilot. It was only after Wyatt had stood up from the sofa that he realized, damn it, shouldn't that be his line to his son? Wyatt devoured a bowl of hot dumplings and then went to take a shower. Sarah made David do the dishes, and he went happily. Having money in his pocket made him agreeable to anything. When Wyatt came out of the bathroom, Sarah asked again, sweetie, what do you want for breakfast tomorrow? Turnip cakes, Wyatt replied without thinking. Okay, Sarah smiled. I'll have your dad go buy them tomorrow. Remember to dry your hair before you sleep. I know, Mom. Don't worry about me. After a bit more nagging, she went back to the master bedroom. By the time Wyatt had dried his hair and climbed into bed with his phone, it was already midnight. He quickly sent a message to Cecilia. I'm home. You're probably asleep already, right? He was about to send a good night when she replied. Cecilia, not yet. Cecilia, I was waiting for you. Wyatt, why were you waiting for me? It's so late. You should have gone to sleep. Cecilia, couldn't sleep. Wyatt, then I'll sing you a lullaby right now. Cecilia, okay, I'll put my headphones in. Wyatt, wait. Wyatt, you really want me to sing? It's midnight. Cecilia, you said it. Wyatt, I still have to message your mom. Cecilia, why? Wyatt, your mom picked me up from the train station earlier. Wyatt, she insisted on coming to get me. Cecilia, how did my mom know you were coming back to Riverwood? Wyatt, she called me to ask if I was visiting you this weekend, and I told her I was on the train. Cecilia, oh, Cecilia, I have my headphones on now. Wyatt got the hint and sent her a voice call request. As soon as she answered, he began to hum the classic lullaby, Sleep, sleep, my dear baby. He was about to continue when Cecilia cut him off. Don't sing that anymore. Wyatt, then I'll switch songs. To what? Wyatt sang softly. The moon is bright, the wind is still, the leaves cover the window sill, the crickets chirp, 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 just like the sound of a zither string. Okay, he said, his voice gentle. Time to really sleep now. Good night. Cecilia, good night. The night passed without incident. Wyatt slept until 9 the next morning. He had woken up once at 7:30 out of habit from his school schedule, but being at home, he had simply rolled over and gone back to sleep. After washing up, he came out to find that Sarah had already heated up turnip cakes in a microwave, and David had placed a bowl of congee on the table. He wolfed down his breakfast, then went to the door and started putting on his shoes. Mom, I'm going out to run an errand. If I'm not back for lunch, don't wait for me. Where are you going? It's a secret. Sarah was about to protest, but David pulled her back. Let him go. He's a grown man. Are you afraid he'll get lost? Miranda knew Wyatt didn't have much time in Riverwood, so she had sent him a message around 7 that morning, telling him to come over. Wyatt got out of his neighborhood, hailed a taxi, and headed for Maple Creek Estates. He arrived at Miranda's house at 10:30. The contract is on the table, she said, getting straight to business. The bank card has $1 million in a checking account. The pin is Cecilia's birthday. You should know her birthday, right? Of course, Wyatt smiled. We watched a movie together on her birthday, and I even got to eat her birthday cake that night, didn't I? Then take a look at the contract first. As she spoke, Miranda poured him a glass of hot water. Wyatt picked up the pen on the table, then glanced at the bank card. With this much money, will I need to apply to the bank to transfer it all at once? It shouldn't be a problem. I'm a premium member at the bank. If you can't transfer it, you can ask your Uncle Charles. Just as Wyatt was about to reply, the doorbell rang again. Miranda laughed. Speak of the devil. She opened the door to find Charles standing there. He glanced at Miranda, then at Wyatt sitting on the sofa. He hastily took off his shoes and rushed inside. Wyatt, you need to think this through. You know that most people will never see $1 million in cash in their entire lives. Wyatt picked up the contract and smiled. You're too late, Uncle Charles. My mother-in-law and I have already signed. Charles pointed a shaky finger at Wyatt, his voice tight with urgency. Miranda, did you hear what he just called you? Mother-in-law, are you deaf? Wyatt said it deliberately, a tactical strike to let Charles know Miranda was on his side now, on his and Cece's. He hadn't expected her to play along so perfectly. Charles was floored. Standing there in the living room, he was suddenly struck by the feeling that he was the intruder in his own home. It was a bitter pill to swallow. Wyatt, yeah, why don't you join me for lunch? We can go out. Wyatt's brow furrowed. Go out. Miranda nodded. Yes, it's easier than making a mess in the kitchen. An idea sparked in Wyatt's mind. How about I cook for you? You. Miranda looked at him, a flicker of genuine interest in her eyes. You're offering to cook? Wyatt nodded eagerly. Don't underestimate me. I can handle a few dishes and a soup. Miranda was curious. She wanted to see if he was bluffing. After all, her own daughter was a complete disaster in the kitchen. She barely knew how to turn on the stove. While they could always hire help someday, having a partner who could cook would create a nice balance. All right then, she said. Let's see what you've got. Wyatt knew the fastest way to a woman's heart was through her mother's stomach. He wasn't a gourmet chef, but he could whip up some impressive home-cooked meals. He had to thank Chloe for that. In their past life together, she wouldn't have dreamed of making a meal, let alone washing a dish. Wyatt had been forced to fend for himself after work, and over time, his skills had sharpened. As Wyatt opened the refrigerator, Miranda smiled. Not much in there, is there? Should we go shopping? It's fine, I'll improvise, Wyatt said, glancing at the clock. It's already past 11, no time to go out now. He expertly tied an apron around his waist and, as if he were in his own home, started washing rice and prepping the ingredients. You could tell if someone knows how to cook by the way they handle a knife. As Miranda watched him from the dining room, the rhythmic, confident thump-thump-thump of his chopping brought an unconscious smile to her lips. It was true what they said about mothers-in-law. As long as the first impression wasn't terrible, they tended to like their son-in-law more and more with time. Charles saw the smile on his wife's face and felt a surge of indignation, a feeling like his entire home was being stolen right out from under him. Miranda caught his expression and her tone sharpened. What are you looking at? What are you even doing here today? Charles sighed. I came to talk some sense into you too. I had no idea you'd sign the contract so fast. Well, it's done, Miranda said dismissively. You can go now. I'm not leaving. Charles, have you gotten bold? When did you learn to throw tantrums? Who taught you that? Charles jabbed a thumb toward the kitchen. I learned it from that little bastard in there. Wyatt pretended not to hear, focusing on his prep work. The fridge was sparse. A piece of pork, some ribs, a few peppers, and a handful of other vegetables in small quantities. He decided on a 4-course meal. First, a creamy Tuscan chicken with the pork loin, a Wyatt specialty. Next, a sweet and tangy barbecue rib recipe that was a universal crowd pleaser. The long, thin jalapenos would be perfect for spicy scrambled eggs, a kick for those who liked heat. Finally, he'd use 2 potatoes and a carrot for a simple roasted root vegetable medley. Soon, the sound of sizzling filled the kitchen. Miranda sat at the table, glancing from her phone to the kitchen, while Charles stewed in the corner, giving himself a pep talk. If Miranda doesn't invite me to eat, I'll just grab a plate myself. If you two are going to embrace this shameless punk, then I'm done being polite. But if the food is bad, I'm going to tear it to shreds. I can't let this little brat get so arrogant. A few visits, and he thinks he owns the place? Wyatt spent about 40 minutes in total. He waited until all 4 dishes were finished before bringing them out one by one. First came the roasted potatoes and carrots, simple and presentable. Second was the jalapeno cheddar scramble, whose spicy aroma promised it would be a hit. Third were the barbecue ribs, glistening with a rich, dark glaze and smelling incredible, an instant appetite booster. The last dish was the Tuscan chicken, served in a large bowl over a bed of spinach and sun-dried tomatoes he'd found. The portion was generous, nearly overflowing. Miranda's face was lit with a huge smile. Wyatt, where did you learn to cook like this? It looks amazing. I just picked it up here and there, he said, taking off the apron and grabbing a plate from the stack on the table. Let me get you a plate, Miranda. I can get it myself. It's no trouble. I'm right here. Really, I can do it. While they were politely bickering, Charles had already silently walked into the kitchen, emerging with his plate piled high. Wyatt served Miranda, then himself, and the 3 of them sat down at the table. Miranda couldn't wait to dig in. The roasted vegetables were perfectly seasoned, not too salty, not too bland. The eggs were fluffy with a delightful, memorable kick of spice. The ribs were a perfect trifecta of color, aroma, and flavor, easily rivaling what you'd get at a good smokehouse. Finally, Miranda picked up a piece of the chicken, took a bite, and chewed thoughtfully. Her brow furrowed for a second, then relaxed into pure bliss. How is this chicken so tender? I marinated it in a buttermilk brine, Wyatt explained. So is it okay? Miranda beamed, her eyes curving into happy crescents. It's delicious. You're a truly gifted cook. Hearing that, Wyatt felt a wave of relief. He shoveled some food into his mouth, then turned to Charles, who had been eating in sullen silence. Charles, what do you think? Is it all right? Charles's hand, holding a forkful of eggs, froze mid-air. He spoke through a full mouth, his words betraying his expression. It's adequate, he then added. At least it's not like the slop some lunatic would make by trying to pass off boiled potatoes with a fistful of parsley as a meal. Miranda's face darkened instantly. Charles, shut your mouth. It was after 3 in the afternoon when Wyatt finally left Maple Creek Estates. Sitting in Charles's car, he looked down at the bank card in his hand. Hey, Charles, if I want to transfer the entire amount from this card at once, do I need to make a request with the bank first? Charles answered without a change in expression. There are limits on mobile transfers. You'll be fine if you go to a branch and do it in person. Oh, I'll remind you one more time. $5 million is not a small amount of money. You should really think this through. Wyatt just smiled. You've reminded me several times already. Of course I have. Charles said, his temper flaring. If you were borrowing $50,000 or even $500,000, I wouldn't care. But this is $5 million. Wyatt's expression turned sly. Charles, want to make a bet? Charles eyed him suspiciously. Bet on what? Wyatt grinned. 3 years. I'll turn this $5 million into $50 million. If I do it, you have to do one thing for me, no questions asked. If I fail, you can make me do anything you want. Huh. It's good for a young man to have dreams, but don't get carried away. So are you in or out? Fine, it's a bet, Charles snorted. Like I'm afraid of you. After getting home, Wyatt booked an Amtrak Acela ticket back to NYC for around 1 o'clock the next day. With the money secured, he planned to visit MiHoYo on Tuesday and finalize the deal before anything could go wrong. Both Sarah and David had to work on Monday, but they came home early for lunch. David, whose government job gave him more flexibility, was in charge of grocery shopping and getting the rice started. Sarah came home to cook, and soon the table was laden with a 4-course meal, all of Wyatt's favorites. Don't come home for 3-day weekends anymore. Sarah began her usual lecture at the table. You lose a whole day just in travel, and I worry about you. Besides, the train tickets must cost a fortune, right? Wyatt smiled. It's not that much. Let your dad drive you to the station later. He's an old hand at his office. It doesn't matter if he's a little late. Okay. David happily agreed. After lunch, he volunteered to do the dishes. Sarah's company required her back by 1:30, so she didn't linger, quickly hopping on her little electric scooter and heading back to work. Wyatt went to his room to pack. When it was time, he and his father left for the train station. David was in a cheerful mood, chatting freely on the way. Your mother's definitely hit her midlife crisis. Her temper is getting worse and worse. Keep that market of yours a secret from her until Christmas. Her job is much harder than mine. Now that you're doing so well, she can retire early and enjoy life. How are things with that girlfriend of yours? She hasn't dumped you yet, has she? Son, I'm telling you, you have to be honest in a relationship. Just be yourself. If you put on an act, you'll never be happy, even if you get married. I'm talking to you. Wyatt rolled his eyes. Dad, if relationships were a college course, I could probably be your professor. So please, don't worry about it. You little punk. And if you need money in the future, don't sneak it from Mom's purse. Just text me. I'm a small-time boss at school now, you know. David shook his head. Your mom's sharp. I used to have to dip into her purse every few days for cigarette money. If I suddenly stop, she'll get suspicious and think I'm hiding my own stash. Smoke less. Can't quit. I know you and old Mr. Miller go to that foot massage parlor every month. As long as it's a legit place, fine. But don't you dare go to one of the shady ones. If Mom finds out, she'll divorce you for sure. And I'm telling you now, if you two split, I'm going with her. David got flustered. When have I ever gone to a shady place? He quickly explained, Mr. Miller's cousin lost his sight in an accident when he was a kid. He opened a blind massage place over by the park. Business isn't great, so we go to support him. David wasn't a man of great means, but his character was solid. In all his years of marriage to Sarah, they had never had a real fight. Even when they bickered, David was usually the one to fall silent, never raising his voice. Wyatt remembered one incident with crystal clarity. He was in middle school, and a classmate had stolen a pack of cigarettes from home. After school, the kid dared everyone to try one. Being young and foolish, Wyatt watched a few of his friends puffing away in an alley and decided to join in. He took a cigarette and, trying to look like a seasoned smoker, lit it up. He hadn't taken 2 drags before his father found him. David, normally so gentle, exploded with a rage Wyatt had never seen. He grabbed Wyatt's ear, dragging him home while yelling and smacking him. Wyatt was mortified. Being hit in front of his friends was humiliating enough, but what made it worse was that his own father smoked. Why was he so furious? Later, at dinner, to show his defiance, Wyatt choked back tears and ate only a bowl of plain white rice, refusing to touch any of the other dishes. When he was hiding in his room, sulking, he heard his father roaring at his mother. Why didn't you put food on his plate? Why didn't you give him any food? From that day on, Wyatt never smoked another cigarette. Wyatt had his dad pull over on the way to the station. He'd spotted a bakery that sold Riverwood's famous turnip cakes. It was a local specialty. Even if he could find them elsewhere, they were never as good as the ones from home. When Wyatt walked up, the owner had just pulled a fresh batch from the oven. Wyatt spent $25 to buy the entire tray, then returned to the car with a fragrant bag. David assumed he was bringing them back for his roommates and didn't ask any questions. At the station, Wyatt boarded the train, put on his headphones, and slept for most of the 5-hour journey to Penn Station. It was already 7 o'clock when he arrived. He took the subway straight up to Juilliard and called Cece from downstairs, asking her to come down. She had asked the night before and knew he was taking an afternoon train, but she assumed he would go straight back to his own campus. She didn't expect him to come see her first. "I brought you these turnip cakes from Riverwood," he said, handing her the bag. "I bought them right out of the oven. They're cold now, but I tried one when I got off the train, and they're still good. You can share them with Isabelle and the others. You must be exhausted." Perhaps it was the long trip, but Wyatt looked drained. He quickly forced a smile. "Not at all. I slept the whole way. I just look tired." "Well, don't take the subway back," she insisted. "It's too slow. Take a cab. Don't worry about the money." "I know," he smiled. "Christmas is on Thursday. Do you want me to come see you?" She shook her head, her reply surprising him. "No. Why not? It's such a long trip. I was exhausted after visiting your school last time. If you come on Thursday, what about Friday? Are you going to rush back first thing in the morning?" Wyatt's grin returned. "So you're worried about me?" Cece shot him a look, a faint blush on her cheeks. "I am not." Wyatt could never get enough of her shy expressions. He opened his arms. "Let's have a hug. Then I'll go." She looked up at him, then glanced around. Seeing that the area was mostly empty, she took 2 steps forward and walked into his embrace. "I'm going now," he said softly. "Okay." Wyatt waved and turned, but after walking a dozen steps, he looked back. Cece was still standing there, watching him. He waved again, raising his voice slightly. "Go on up. It's cold out here." Only then did Cece turn and head back into the dorm. Back on campus, the team had been busy preparing for the Christmas Wish event while Wyatt was away. The previous night, the campus reps had already stocked the vending machines with the beautifully packaged gift boxes. While they were getting ready, Ron, the owner of Corner Organics, was also prepping for Christmas Eve. He was doing the same thing he did every year, packaging regular apples in cheap boxes and selling them for $5 each. In previous years, with no competition, he'd made a tidy little profit. On Tuesday morning, not long after Ron opened his shop, he saw that Cece's Fresh Market was open too. They had a new banner hanging above the door and a large standing sign out front. Curious, Ron walked a few dozen paces down the street until he could read the text. "An apple for my love. Buy more, get more free. A Christmas Wish gift box for $15. Are they insane?" Ron couldn't fathom Wyatt's strategy. An apple weighed maybe half a pound. At this year's price of around $8 a pound, a single apple cost about $3. It was normal for prices to go up on Christmas Eve, but this was ridiculous. $15 for one apple? Only an idiot would buy that. Ron had been expecting a price war, but seeing Cece's Market's pricing, he felt a wave of relief. Wyatt, however, wasn't thinking about Corner Organics at all. After taking Monday off, he dutifully attended his 2 morning classes. For his afternoon political science lecture, he had Alex sign him in. After a quick lunch at the dining hall, he hailed a cab and headed for the MiHoYo studio in Queens. MiHoYo's current office was a prize they'd won at an NYC startup competition in 2011. It was only about 500 square feet, roughly the size of Wyatt's office on campus, but it was packed with people. When Wyatt pushed the door open, he saw a dozen guys in their mid-20s hunched over their computers, furiously typing code. His arrival went largely unnoticed. It seemed they were used to visitors. Wyatt, MiHoYo spotted him and immediately stood up to greet him. Truthfully, Wyatt wasn't the only one willing to invest in them, but the other offers had come with suffocating conditions. Wyatt, aside from asking for a larger stake, hadn't made any other demands. That was precisely why they had chosen to partner with him. "This place wasn't easy to find," Wyatt commented. MiHoYo laughed. "It's definitely off the beaten path, but renting an office in New York is insanely expensive. We're strapped for cash right now." "Let's not beat around the bush," Wyatt said. "Let's get straight to business." Of course. The conference room is this way. 2 other men were in the small conference room, both of them MiHoYo's partners. After a brief chat, Kai handed Wyatt the contract. He'd already emailed the digital version the day before, and Wyatt had even had Valerie, the law student, look it over. Wyatt gave a quick scan, saw no issues, and signed his name with a flourish. He handed one copy back to Kai and kept the other. "The money should be in your corporate account by 5 this afternoon. Let me know when it arrives." "No problem." Wyatt stood and extended his hand. "Here's to a successful partnership." To a successful partnership. Perhaps because both parties were so young, the entire process was incredibly swift and efficient. Even Kai's partners seemed surprised at how smoothly it went. "Want me to give you a tour of the company?" "Sure." MiHoYo enthusiastically led Wyatt around, introducing him to every employee, explaining their roles and responsibilities. It was after 4 when Wyatt finally left the studio. Moments after he walked out the door, the finance department received the notification that the funds had arrived. An excited MiHoYo walked into the main office space and clapped his hands to get everyone's attention. Guys, we've got money. It's time to get to work. Walking out of the office building, Wyatt was buzzing with excitement. The contract in his hand might only be worth $5 million today, but in a few years, its value would multiply 100-fold. Because after MiHoYo struck gold with their third game, they stopped seeking outside investment, which meant Wyatt's shares wouldn't be diluted. The thought that in just a few years, he would be a billionaire sent a thrill through him that was hard to describe. Back at school, Wyatt hadn't even reached his store when he saw Ron from Corner Organics standing out front with a megaphone, hawking his apples. Wyatt glanced at the pile of cheaply wrapped boxes by Ron's door and couldn't help but laugh. People who bought these kinds of gifts on Christmas Eve were buying them for others. And if you're giving a gift, you wanted to look as nice as possible. Wyatt's boxes were not only top of the line, but the apples inside were huge, red Honeycrisps, twice the price of regular apples. Add in the cost of the luxury box, the romantic note, and the little red string bracelet, and $15 wasn't unreasonable at all. Not to mention his buy more, get more promotion. Buy 2, get 1 free. Buy 5, get 2 free. When you averaged it out, the price was even better. Even though he was now a soon-to-be billionaire, he still needed to earn the money in front of him. After all, he had a debt to his mother-in-law to repay. Wyatt walked into the store, sat down, and opened a private Facebook group for Cece's Fresh Market. He began typing, "Hey everyone, Christmas Eve is tomorrow night. We're launching a Christmas wish gift box. Inside, along with a beautiful apple, there's a little surprise gift. It's the perfect present for your boyfriend or girlfriend. A single box is $15, but if you buy 2, you get 1 free. It's an amazing value. Come and get your orders in." Almost immediately, someone replied in the group, "At Wyatt, what else is inside besides the apple? At Wyatt, I want to know At Wyatt, what if you don't have a girlfriend?" Wyatt typed back, "That's a secret for now. And for those of you without a girlfriend, don't you have someone you like?" He snapped a picture of the elegant gift box and posted it in the group. "Our gift boxes are high-end, classy, and perfect for anyone. Supplies are limited, so we might not have any left by tomorrow night." The scarcity marketing worked like a charm. People in the group immediately started saying they were coming over to check them out. Wyatt closed the chat and called Leo. "Yo, Leo, I'm talking to Sophie right now. What's up? Make it quick. Christmas Eve is tomorrow. You want to give Sophie an apple?" "Of course I do. Come over to my campus. I've got the gift boxes ready for you. You can take one for Sophie, and while you're at it, you could deliver one to my girlfriend for me. That gives you the perfect excuse to see Sophie. Your school is so far away. The gift boxes are already in my school's vending machines, aren't they? I'll just grab 2 and take them to their dorm. I want to handwrite the note inside mine. It's more personal that way." "Leo, are you telling me you're not willing to go through a little trouble for Sophie? Are you trying to PUA me right now?" "Fine," Leo sighed. "I don't have class tomorrow afternoon. Make sure you pick me up from the subway station." "You got it. Talk to you then." Wyatt hung up and turned to Sam. "Sam, you got a pen and paper?" Sam handed them over. Wyatt placed the paper on a book and thought for a moment. Then, in his neatest handwriting, he wrote, "The feeling of meeting you is like finally coming home after a long, long journey. Signed, your most favorite Wyatt." Wyatt folded the note, personally packed a particularly beautiful apple into a gift box, and placed the note inside. He then drew a small, smiley face on the outside of the box with a marker. He couldn't trust Leo to get it right otherwise. The guy was a walking disaster. Christmas Eve was the most critical day for the event. If they were lucky, they could pull in 6 figures in a single day. That wasn't an exaggeration. Setting aside the physical store, the vending machines were now in 7 different campuses across 5 universities, targeting a customer base of over 100,000 students. All it would take was a bit of herd mentality, and selling 10,000 units would be easy. That's why Wyatt wanted Leo to deliver the apple to Juilliard. First, he was too busy to go himself, and second, it created an opportunity for Leo to see Sophie. If Wyatt didn't give the guy a push, he'd probably never make a move. Wyatt stayed at the store late into the evening to help out. Starting around 7, people began trickling in to buy the gift boxes. A few of them, upon getting back to their dorms, immediately tore open the boxes. When they saw the romantic note inside, they were instantly filled with regret. The boxes were sealed. Once opened, they couldn't be restored. At this age, almost everyone had a secret crush. Those who were too shy to confess in person could use this as a perfect opportunity. If the person they liked rejected them, they could claim they had no idea the note was inside. If the person read the note and said nothing, well, that was a victory in itself. Wyatt had expertly tapped into the customer psyche. The first wave of buyers created a ripple effect, and soon, a second wave of customers descended on the store. Ron, the owner of Corner Organics, was completely bewildered. Geographically speaking, his store was in a better location, closer to the dorms. Anyone coming out had to pass his shop first. But tonight, for some reason, droves of college students were walking right past him and heading straight for the more distant Cece's Fresh Market. Ron couldn't help himself. He stopped a passing student. "Hey, what are you guys buying?" "The Christmas Wish gift box. I have them in my store too." The student glanced at the cheap-looking boxes in Ron's store, his expression awkward. "His are different from yours. I want to go buy from him." "Hey kid, hey. His are $15. Mine are only $5. Ron watched, fuming, as group after group of students bypassed his store. From his perspective, it was completely illogical. Why would these students rather buy a $15 apple from Wyatt's store than even look at the $5 ones in his? The more Ron thought about it, the more it bothered him. He was convinced Wyatt had pulled some trick he didn't know about. He stopped another student. "Hey, are you going to that store up ahead to buy a gift box?" "Yeah." Ron immediately handed him a $20 bill. "Can you buy one for me? The extra $5 is for your trouble." Wyatt was his competitor. Ron couldn't bring himself to go into his rival's store. This was his only option. The student didn't understand Ron's motive, but seeing the $20 bill and knowing that buying 2 boxes got him a third for free, he quickly agreed. A few minutes later, the student returned and handed Ron a gift box from Cece's Fresh Market before happily walking away with his own 2 boxes. Ron took the box into his store and tore open the seal. He took out the apple, glanced at it, and muttered, "So, it's a different kind of apple. No wonder it's so expensive." After removing the apple, he saw a small note at the bottom. Curious, he picked it up. He unfolded it and read the single line of text. "Whether it was love at first sight or just lust, the first time I saw you, I was hooked. As a middle-aged married man." The words on the note did nothing for Ron, but they did make him realize one thing. If he didn't change his strategy, he wasn't going to make any money this Christmas Eve. He immediately called his supplier at the wholesale market, determined to imitate Wyatt and create a similar gift box. But by now, apple prices had already shot up. It was too late to order custom boxes online. And as for the romantic notes that Chris had spent a week curating, Ron had no time to prepare anything like them. This was how business worked in this country. If one boba tea shop became a hit, the next year, the entire block would be filled with boba tea shops. This was precisely why Wyatt had insisted that Chris, Jessica, and the team keep the details of the event a secret. The next morning, just after 7, Wyatt woke up Chris and Alex. Chris knew how important today was, so he got up immediately. But Alex had been up until the early hours of the morning chatting with his online girlfriend, Mia, and refused to budge. He glanced at his phone and burrowed deeper under the covers. Wyatt didn't press him. He just said to Chris, "All right, then it's just the 2 of us. We'll go give the professors their apples. You know what they say, a little gift goes a long way. If we make a good impression, it'll definitely help our final grades." Chris's eyes widened. "Damn, you think of everything." Lying in bed, Alex heard this and shot upright. "I'm coming too," he yelled. "I'm not trying to fail any classes this semester." "Then get your ass out of bed." Wyatt didn't wake Sam. Sam was a diligent student who paid attention in every class and was always reading when the store wasn't busy. Final exams would be a breeze for him. The 3 of them got ready and rode 2 electric scooters to the market. They filled a bag with a dozen gift boxes and then headed for the faculty offices. Some of the professors had morning classes and were already in their offices. After delivering apples to them, Wyatt, Chris, and Alex found Ms. Sutton and gave her the remaining boxes. Ms. Sutton wasn't stupid. Even without an explanation, she understood Wyatt's intentions. She readily agreed to distribute the rest of the apples to the professors who hadn't arrived yet. "Ms. Sutton, make sure you mention our names, okay?" She rolled her eyes at him with a playful smile. "Don't worry, I get it." Wyatt grinned. Everything was falling into place. In college, the students with the best grades weren't always the ones with the best relationships with their professors. But the students with high emotional intelligence always were. By the time they left Ms. Sutton's office, it was almost time for class. Thankfully, the scooters got them to the dining hall with just enough time for a quick breakfast. As soon as he sat down, Alex sighed dramatically. "Feels like there are way more beautiful girls out today. Everyone's dressing up for their dates tonight," Wyatt said, biting into a breakfast sandwich. "It's a good thing our school doesn't have too many guys like you, Alex." Alex shot him a look. "What's that supposed to mean?" Chris chuckled. "He means if everyone was like you, nobody would be buying our gift boxes." One day, Alex declared, "I'll find a girlfriend, and you'll all be jealous of me." The 2 morning classes dragged on. Wyatt was completely distracted, his mind buzzing with one question. How are the Christmas wish boxes selling in the vending machines? The second the bell rang for lunch, the four roommates split up. Sam and Alex headed to the market to help Valerie, who would surely be overwhelmed, while Wyatt and Chris made a beeline for the startup center. As luck would have it, they ran into Jessica Evans on the way. The three of them burst into the office, their first move to open the vending machine's back-end dashboard to check the sales data. The moment the page loaded, a slew of notifications popped up. Whoa, look at all these machines with low stock alerts. Jessica's voice was filled with excitement. This means our gift boxes are selling like crazy. I'm calling Megan and Ruby right now and telling them to get over here after they eat. Wyatt turned to Chris. Post in the rep group chat. Tell everyone to restock immediately. On it. Wyatt had barely sat down when his phone rang. It was Alex, and the background noise was chaotic. Wyatt, dude, the store is swamped. I don't think we have enough stock. I know. I'm calling Charles right now to get another 100 boxes of apples delivered. When they arrive, you and he can drive them over to the office. We'll pack them here. Got it. At the market, the gift boxes were flying off the shelves. Wyatt knew they would sell well, but he hadn't anticipated this level of demand. He quickly called Charles Evans and asked him to deliver another 100 cases of apples as soon as possible. Megan and Ruby rushed to the office, and the group fell into a productive rhythm, each person handling their assigned task. Sales have passed $50,000. Have we really sold over 3,000 units already? Yep, 3,500 and counting. And the number is still climbing fast. Every time the dashboard refreshed, the sales figures jumped to a new level. At 3 o'clock, Charles finally arrived with the truckload of apples, parking near the gym. Wyatt rallied a few people to help unload them, and they set up an impromptu packing station on the spot. When he realized they were still short-handed, Wyatt sent a message to his class GroupMe. Within minutes, a small army of classmates had shown up to help. With many hands, the work was light. The apples were quickly packed into gift boxes, and as each batch was completed, Wyatt had a driver deliver them to the campuses that were running low. Seeing that the operation was running like a well-oiled machine, Wyatt sent a text to Leo. Learning that Leo's train was just pulling into the station, Wyatt hopped on a scooter to pick him up. He brought him back to the school and handed him the 4 gift boxes he had prepared the day before. This one with the smiley face on it is for Cece, he instructed. These 2 are for Sophie's roommates. And this one, I left it unsealed on purpose. It's up to you if you want to leave a note inside like I did. When Wyatt had mentioned handwriting a note on the phone yesterday, Leo had been thinking about it all night. He wanted to do it, but he had no idea what to write. Wyatt, what did you write on yours? He asked. Wyatt told him. Leo immediately grabbed his arm, his voice pleading. Bro, you gotta help me think of something. You sure? Positive. Wyatt grinned. I can help you, but whatever I come up with, you have to put in the box. No chickening out. Leo asked why. Because you turn into a blushing mess whenever you talk to a girl, Wyatt explained. If I write something even slightly romantic, you'll never have the guts to use it. As long as Sophie is okay with it, I'm fine, Leo said quickly. Trust me, I'm a pro. Okay, then write it for me. Are you an idiot? What if Sophie recognizes my handwriting? Leo scratched his head. So, you're saying I should write it? Yep. Leo took the pen and sat down, looking serious. Wyatt thought for a moment, then said, just write this. I've never been great with words, or at this whole dating thing. But meeting you made me realize I wasn't bad at it. I just hadn't met the person who made it feel easy. Wait, slow down, Leo said, fumbling with the pen. Wyatt rolled his eyes and repeated the line. After Leo finished writing, he frowned, looking at the note. Isn't this a little too direct? Direct? Cece and I held hands on our 3rd date. You're sure this is okay? It's fine. Okay then. This is it. Leo decided to trust Wyatt's experience in these matters. After rereading the note, he carefully folded it, placed it in the gift box, and sealed it with tape. Leo stood up. All right, I'm heading over there now. Okay, I'll walk you out. Wyatt knew that Leo and Sophie had been texting frequently. A girl with Sophie's personality wouldn't keep talking to someone if she found them repulsive. That meant her impression of Leo was actually pretty good. But Leo was a doofus. Without a push from Wyatt, he would probably never make a move. Wyatt felt that the note Leo had just written could be the catalyst that moved their relationship forward. As long as Sophie didn't deliberately distance herself from Leo after reading it, he would be more than halfway there. From that point on, they just needed time to let things develop naturally. After seeing Leo off, Wyatt went back to monitoring the vending machines and the market. Meanwhile, Leo took the subway to Juilliard. Wyatt had already given him directions to the women's dorms. He followed the main path until he reached the building, then snapped a picture and sent it to Wyatt for confirmation. Once he was sure he was at the right place, Leo opened his chat with Sophie. He hesitated for a long time before finally typing out a message. "I'm downstairs at your dorm right now. Can you come down for a minute?" Sophie was in her room, chatting with Isabelle and the others, when she saw the message. Her heart skipped a beat. She had never expected Leo to come looking for her. Staring at the message, she didn't know how to reply. Fortunately, a second message quickly followed. "Wyatt asked me to bring a gift box for Cece, and I got one for you and your 2 roommates as well. You can all come down together." Sophie looked up at Cece. "Cece, yeah, your Wyatt had Leo bring you a Christmas gift box. The 3 of us got one too. He's downstairs right now. Should we go get them?" Cece got up and looked out from the balcony. Sure enough, she saw Leo standing below. Wyatt had already told her that Leo was pursuing Sophie, so it didn't take long for her to figure out this was all part of Wyatt's plan. But she didn't expose him. She just nodded. "Yeah, let's all go down together." The 4 roommates went downstairs. Seeing them, Leo took a few steps forward. He handed the box with a smiley face to Cece first. "This is from Wyatt for you." Then, he handed his own box to Sophie. I brought this for you." Finally, he gave the remaining 2 boxes to Isabelle and Ashley. "And these are for you." Isabelle took the box and smiled slyly. "You're making such a clear distinction. Are they all different?" I bet only Cece's is different from ours, right?" Probably." Isabelle said mischievously. "Sophie, let's trade." "You can't." Leo blurted out, his tone firm and absolute. That single phrase gave everything away. Isabelle covered her mouth, laughing, and pulled Ashley with her back upstairs. Cece looked at Leo, then at Sophie, and decided she was a third wheel. She followed Isabelle and Ashley up the stairs. Leo glanced at Sophie and found that she was looking at him too. They both quickly averted their gazes. Then Leo stammered, "Well, I should get going. Wyatt's running that Christmas Eve event, and it's going to be a busy night." "Oh, will you wait for me tonight?" "MHM. Then I'll go. Bye." Leo turned and walked away, his steps as fast as his heartbeat. Sophie looked down at the gift box in her hand, then at Leo's retreating back, and thought to herself, so this is what it feels like to have someone waiting for you downstairs. Back in the dorm room, Ashley looked at the gift box in her hand and smiled. "That Wyatt is pretty thoughtful, having Leo bring us apples." Isabelle, perched on her chair with her legs crossed, tore open her box. "Are you kidding? We were just an excuse. That guy Leo was obviously here for Sophie." Ashley's voice dropped to a whisper. "You mean?" Before she could finish, Isabelle nodded with a grin. "Exactly what you think. I knew it." Cece sat down at her own desk and, like Isabelle, opened her box. She took out the big, red apple and was about to see what else was inside when Isabelle walked over. "I knew it. Wyatt would definitely give you a better apple than us. Yours is way prettier. Hey, there's a note in your box." Before Cece could stop her, the quick-handed Isabelle had snatched the note. She opened it and burst out laughing. "Wow, this Wyatt is smooth." Ashley asked curiously, "What does it say?" "Give it back." Cece reached for it, flustered. Isabelle turned her back to her and read the note aloud. "The feeling of meeting you is like finally coming home after a long, long journey. And it's signed, your most favorite Wyatt." "Oh my God, I have goosebumps," Ashley squealed. After Isabelle finished reading, a blushing Cece finally snatched the note back. She glanced at Wyatt's handwritten words and quickly tucked the note inside a book. Ashley sighed dramatically. "Why does no one ever send me a note like that?" Isabelle immediately shot back. "Ashley, you're out of line. We made a pact to be single together. You're not allowed to be thirsty. You're the one who's thirsty." As they bickered, Sophie returned to the room. A faint blush still lingered on her cheeks. When she saw Isabelle and Ashley staring at her, she said with uncharacteristic loudness, "What are you looking at me for?" Isabelle gave her a wicked grin. "You should open your gift box. There might be a surprise inside." Isabelle was certain that Sophie's box also contained a note. Even if Leo wasn't clever enough to think of it himself, Wyatt would have definitely coached him. Suspicious, Sophie opened the box, placed the apple on her desk, and saw that there was indeed a folded piece of paper at the bottom. Her heart, which had just calmed down, started racing again. She glanced nervously at Isabelle and Ashley. Seeing that they weren't looking at her, she quickly snatched the note, clenching it in her fist, and darted into the bathroom. Sophie took a few deep breaths and slowly unfolded the paper. A line of neat handwriting came into view. When she read the last sentence, "I just hadn't met the person who made it feel easy," her fair cheeks flushed a deep, brilliant red. This was a blatant confession. Sophie felt her thoughts scatter into a complete mess, catching her completely off guard. For a girl who had never been in a relationship, these kinds of ambiguous, romantic words were like a shot of strong liquor, capable of making her head spin instantly. She stayed in the bathroom for a long time before coming out. The note was now safely tucked away in her pocket. She pretended nothing had happened and sat down at her desk, staring blankly at her phone screen. Isabelle watched her for a few moments, noticing she was completely dazed. Finally, she cleared her throat. "Sophie, is Leo interested in you?" "No, I don't think so." "Don't pretend. We're not idiots. Besides, with the way he was acting, even an idiot could tell he likes you." Sophie's chest rose and fell more rapidly. Isabelle adopted the posture of a seasoned veteran. "Listen, you can't rush into a relationship. You can't just say yes the moment a guy confesses. You've only met him twice, including today. You need to at least figure out what kind of person he is first." Leo had his strategist, Wyatt. Sophie likewise had her strategist, Isabelle. Sophie listened intently, feeling that Isabelle was definitely more experienced in these matters. Ashley played along perfectly. So what should she do if he confesses? Put on the back burner. Keep seeing him for a while. Ashley laughed. "If it were me, I'd just say I'm a slow-to-warm-up kind of person." "Never say that." "Why not?" All three roommates looked at Isabelle. Isabelle explained, "Let's be blunt. Slow to warm up basically means your looks and your money haven't quite reached the level that gets me excited, but you're not disgusting, so I'll allow you to be my devoted admirer." Even if you don't mean it that way, that's how guys will interpret it. "Wow, you know so much." So what's the right way to respond? If you think he has potential, you say, "I don't know you that well yet, but I'd be open to spending more time together." If you're not interested, you reject him directly. "Got it." Isabelle smiled. "Have you guys seen that meme online? The one that says all men have the same pattern. Before you're dating, it's all, 'Hey, gorgeous,' then 'Hey, babe,' then 'You my everything.' After you're together, it's 'I'm busy today,' 'I'm tired tomorrow,' and 'You should get some sleep.' So all those sweet nothings men say, just listen, but don't ever take them seriously." Seeing Sophie's blank expression, Isabelle emphasized, "Sophie, did you hear me?" Sophie immediately deflected. "Why are you telling me? You should be telling Cece." Cece was about to speak when Isabelle waved her hand dismissively. "Cece is a lost cause. Wyatt has her wrapped around his little finger. So, I'm saying this for your benefit." Sophie pouted. "I'm not going to be lovesick like Cece." Cece retorted indignantly. "When have I ever been lovesick? Why do you guys always have to drag me into it?" As if on cue, her phone started ringing. Cece picked it up, saw who was calling, and immediately stood up and went outside to take the call. Isabelle shook her head and sighed. "See? And she says she's not lovesick." The second Wyatt calls, her smile is bigger than anyone's. "Hello. Hey, did you get the apple one sent you?" "I got it." "Did you see the little note I wrote for you?" "No. How is that possible?" "I put the apple and the note in together and sealed it myself." "Look again, it has to be in there." "Well, I didn't see it." "Oh, I get it. You already saw it. And now you're just messing with me." You can probably hear the noise over here, right? It's been crazy busy today. But being busy isn't a bad thing, because I think I'm about to make a small fortune today. Are you happy about that? Why should I be happy that you're making money? My money is your money. Isabelle just said not to believe the sweet nothings guys say when they're dating, so I'm not falling for your tricks anymore. Isabelle is nuts. She's just spouting nonsense because she can't find a boyfriend herself. Babe, don't listen to her. Hello. Hello. Wyatt called out twice before realizing Cece had hung up on him. He immediately sent a message. Why did you hang up? Cece replied quickly. Because of what you called me. Wyatt, everyone calls their girlfriend babe when they're dating. Cece, Isabelle was right. You guys are all such players. Wyatt, wait, what did Isabelle say now? Cece, I'm not talking to you anymore. Cece, Wyatt was helpless. He had no idea what Isabelle had been feeding Cece, but it clearly wasn't anything good. He could only send a voice message back. Okay, I'll call you later. Don't listen to Isabelle's nonsense. She's single for a reason. She doesn't know the first thing about love. Cece's hand slipped, and she accidentally played the voice message out loud. All three of her roommates heard it instantly. Isabelle was dumbfounded. Ashley and Sophie stared for a second, then burst out laughing. Ha ha. Isabelle said indignantly, that damn Wyatt, talking trash about me behind my back. I'm calling him right now to chew him out. Cece's mouth opened, but no words came out. Isabelle saw her hesitation. Cece, what is it? What do you want to say? Cece said timidly, he's really busy right now. Can you maybe wait and yell at him the next time you see him? Isabelle deflated, shaking her head with a sigh. You always stick up for him. You really are a lost cause. He really is busy, Cece explained. Isabelle crossed her arms, her expression haughty. Now I'm mad. Cece continued. I already yelled at him. How did you yell at him? I told him he was a player. You call that yelling at someone? Well, how should I have done it? You should have. Ugh, forget it. You two are a team. Why am I even getting involved? Hearing this, Cece's eyes crinkled into a smile. How about we all go out for dinner tonight? My treat. Boss, I want hot pot. +1 foot, let's go. In the office, Jessica hit the refresh button again. The sales numbers and revenue figures changed once more. We broke 10,000 units. For real. A crowd immediately gathered around Jessica's computer, all eyes glued to the screen. Holy crap, we really did it. Chris, does this mean we're rich? Chris was emotional. Can't you do the math? $15 a pop, 10,000 units sold is $150,000 in revenue. But that's not the point. The point is, it's only 6:30. We're really rich. Wyatt smiled. All right, Megan, run the numbers one more time and see which campuses are still short on stock. Then we'll send out the last batch. Got it. Ruby, could you do me a favor and order some takeout? It's on me. And remember to order for all the classmates who came to help, with a boba tea for each. You got it, boss. With the company making money, everyone's spirits were high. In truth, Wyatt had anticipated a windfall this afternoon. Business was like that. Earning your first 100,000 might take a year, and the first million might take 5. But going from 1 million to 10 could happen in a month. While the vending machine sales were soaring, the physical store was also completely packed. From about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, the market had been flooded with customers. Ron at Corner Organics could only watch as his own storefront remained deserted while Cece's fresh market thrived. The sight made his heart bleed. Time flew by. By the time the moon had climbed high into the sky, it was already 11 o'clock. In the startup center office, Jessica expertly tapped away at a calculator, tallying up the vending machine sales. When she pressed the equals key, the calculator emitted a pleasant chime. Equals $246,945. Are you sure you didn't miscalculate? Positive. I checked it twice. The data is correct. Wyatt nodded, satisfied. Excellent. With over $240,000 in revenue, our net profit should be well over $100,000. Everyone worked hard today. We'll have a celebration dinner on Friday night, and I'll be handing out bonuses. You're the man, boss. All right, let's wrap it up. Any later, and the dorms will be locked. I'm so exhausted today. I'm going to take a long, hot shower when I get back. Wow, it's already so dark outside. You three could take our scooters back, but remember to bring them back tomorrow morning. The market needs them. Will do. Watching Jessica, Ruby, and Megan ride off on the scooters, Alex looked bewildered. Wyatt, it's 11:17. The dorms lock in 13 minutes. You gave him scooters. How are we supposed to get back? We run. What? Without another word, Wyatt took off in the direction of the dorms. Chris cursed under his breath before taking off after him. Wyatt, you son of a bitch. You're so rich now. When are you finally going to buy a car? You keep working hard, and I'll get a car by the end of the year. Next year, I'll even get you a wife. Go to hell. The three of them sprinted all the way back to their dorm. Wyatt immediately hit the shower. While blow-drying his hair, he saw he had several new messages on his phone. He opened them one by one. Riley, Wyatt, happy Christmas Eve. Do you have a date with Cece tonight? Cece, dork, are you done with work yet? Leo, Wyatt, the gift boxes sold so well. You must have made a killing today, right? Miranda, Wyatt, are you with Cece? Wyatt quickly finished drying his hair and started replying. First, to Riley. Nope, your big brother was busy making big money today. Riley didn't reply. At this hour, she was already asleep. Second, to Miranda. Annie, the company had a Christmas Eve event, so I didn't go see Cece today, but I'll visit her for New Year's. Miranda didn't reply either, likely already asleep. After all, it was past 11:40. Third, to Leo, did okay. Probably cleared over $100,000. Leo, of course, was awake. He replied instantly. Holy shit, you now make more in one day than my dad does in a year. Wyatt, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to adopt me as your new dad? Leo, screw you. Leo, let me ask you a question. Wyatt, shoot. Leo, if you had $30 million and your best friend got sick and needed $29,995,000 for treatment, what would you do? Wyatt, what would I do? Wyatt, I'd give him a funeral with all the bells and whistles. Leo, Wyatt, are you even human? Leo, is our friendship that fragile? Wyatt, all right, I need to call my girlfriend now. Stop spamming me. Leo, ask Sophie for me if she's asleep. If she is, I'll just send her a good night. If not, I'll ask if she's free. Wyatt, never start a conversation by asking someone, are you there? Or you up? Just say what you want to say. If they don't reply, it means they don't want to talk to you. Leo, got it, bro. Leo quickly opened a chat with Sophie and typed out a message. I'm done with work. Are you asleep yet? Sophie replied almost immediately. Not yet. Leo, I'm sorry. Today was just so crazy busy. Sophie, it's okay. Leo, did you eat the apple? Sophie, not yet. Leo, did you see the little note inside? He typed and deleted this message several times before finally mustering the courage to send it. The moment it's sent, time seemed to slow down. He stared at his phone, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might leap out his chest. On the other side, huddled under her covers, a blushing Sophie saw the message and replied, I saw it. Then, remembering what Isabelle had said that afternoon, she quickly typed another message. But I'm not ready yet. We've only just met. Leo froze, then quickly took a screenshot and sent it to Wyatt. Bro, what do I say? With great power comes great responsibility. Wyatt found himself simultaneously comforting Cece and coaching Leo on how to reply. Following Wyatt's instructions, Leo sent back a new message. Leo, that's okay. Me liking you doesn't mean we have to be together. I just hope that if you ever hit a low point in your life, you won't lose heart. Because at least you'll know that someone was once captivated by your charm. I was then, and I will be in the future. Sophie paused for a moment, then replied, Who said that? Leo panicked. He thought Sophie had guessed that Wyatt had fed him the line. He immediately confessed, Wyatt said it. But that's what I wanted to express. Sophie, bullshit. That was John Green. When Leo saw that message, his brain felt like it was buzzing. Leo, I'm sorry. Leo, I didn't know. Leo, but that's really what I wanted to say. I swear, you have to believe me. Sophie, I'm sleepy. Sophie, going to bed. Sophie, good night. Defeated, Leo could only reply with a good night. Then he immediately fired off a series of messages to Wyatt, his tone completely different from before. Leo, Wyatt, you son of a bitch. Leo, why didn't you tell me there was a John Green quote? Leo, I have absolutely no face left. Leo, I seriously screwed up. Leo, damn it, don't you dare play dead. Wyatt, calm down. Wyatt, what did she say? Leo, chat underscore screenshot. JPG Wyatt, it's fine. Sophie is probably hiding under her covers laughing right now. Leo, why would you be laughing? Wyatt, laughing at what a goofball you are. Wyatt had hit the nail on the head. At that very moment, Sophie was stifling her laughter as she edited Leo's contact name. She deleted his first name, leaving only his last, then added the goofball after it. From now on, in Sophie's contact list, Leo was Leo, the goofball. If Wyatt had known, he would have surely told Leo, Bro, when she finally deletes the Leo, and you're just goofball, that's when you'll know you've made it. The next day was Christmas. Compared to the frenzy of the day before, it was much quieter. During lunch at the dining hall, Wyatt sent a message to Jessica, asking her to calculate the total net profit from the previous day for both the company and the market. He would then decide on the bonuses based on that figure. He couldn't have pulled this off alone. Not to mention, he had been home for 2 days the previous weekend. If it weren't for Chris, Jessica, and the others working tirelessly, yesterday wouldn't have been so successful. Bonuses were a must. So, on Friday at 5:30 in the afternoon, Wyatt sent a message to the company's group chat. Company dinner tonight. Everyone meet at the Emperor's Table by the south gate of the school before 7. I've already booked a private room on the 2nd floor. Just give them my name when you get there. As for Valerie, Sam, and Alex, he will be passing the market anyway. So he planned to pick them up on the way. In his dorm room, Wyatt and Chris were busy preparing red envelopes with cash. The previous day, the vending machines had brought in a profit of over $110,000, and the market had cleared another $30,000, totaling around $140,000. Wyatt decided to allocate $50,000 for bonuses. While a bank transfer would have been easier, he felt that cash was more motivating. So, that afternoon, he had Jessica and Ruby withdraw a large sum of cash from a bank. There were 6 core members of the company: Wyatt, Chris, Alex, Jessica, Ruby, and Megan. The market had 2 employees plus 2 stockers, totaling 4 people. Then there were the reps and stockers for the 7 campuses, totaling 21 people. There were also some temporary part-time helpers, but their wages had already been paid. Some of the reps were too far away to make it, so Jessica would transfer their bonuses to them that night. In total, there were 31 people. As the boss, Wyatt wouldn't be giving himself an envelope, so that left 30 people. The average bonus would be over $1,600, but the money couldn't be divided equally. Some had contributed more than others. After a discussion between the 3 shareholders, Wyatt, Chris, and Jessica, they decided on a 3-tiered bonus system. The top tier would receive $2,500, the middle tier $1,500, and the lowest tier $500. Any leftover money would be distributed as random cash prizes in the WeChat group. At 6:30, Wyatt stuffed the red envelopes into his shoulder bag. He and Chris first went to the market to meet up with Sam and the others. By the time the five of them arrived at the restaurant, most of the team was already there. After the food was served, Wyatt stood up, raising his glass of soda. "All right, everyone, I'd like to say a few words." The private room quieted down, and all eyes turned to him. Wyatt got straight to the point. On Wednesday, our company's Christmas Eve event was a huge success. Over 17,000 people purchased our gift boxes from our vending machines, which brought in a substantial profit for the company. Of course, none of this would have been possible without everyone's hard work. So, as the head of this company, I want to first express my gratitude. Thank you all. He paused for a moment before continuing. Before we begin our meal, I prepared a red envelope for everyone here as a bonus for this event. With a smile, Wyatt handed out the envelopes to each person. A joyful atmosphere quickly filled the room. Seeing everyone start toasting and celebrating, Wyatt discreetly took out his phone under the table and sent 2 red envelope payments to Cece on Venmo. 520*operator**operator 520*operator 1,314. Cece replied quickly. "Why are you suddenly sending me money?" "Wyatt, because your man is rich now." According to the holiday schedule, most companies were off for New Year's Day on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. But since the 4th was a Sunday, some schools extended the break to 4 days. On the afternoon of December 31st, after his last class, Wyatt rushed back to his dorm on his scooter. He packed a change of clothes and headed straight for Juilliard. He and Cece had made plans to celebrate New Year's Eve together. After getting off the subway at the station nearest to her school, Wyatt didn't go directly to the campus. Instead, he went to a nearby shopping mall. Inside, he took out his phone and called Leo. "Yo, Leo, where are you?" "I'm by the entrance of the boba tea shop on the 1st floor." "I'm here. Come to the entrance." Okay. Wyatt had arranged to meet Leo the night before. Since Leo lived closer, he had arrived more than half an hour earlier. Wyatt didn't have to wait long before Leo came jogging over. The guy was dressed to the nines today. His clothes and shoes looked brand new. As he approached, Wyatt caught a faint whiff of cologne. "You even put on cologne, you dork?" "Just a little bit." "Look at you, Leo, pulling out all the stops." Leo scratched his head, smiling sheepishly. "Just trying to make a good impression." He quickly changed the subject. "Does your girlfriend know you're here today? Should we go over now, or—" "No rush," Wyatt said. "I'm going to pick out a New Year's gift for her first." "A New Year's gift? Crap, I forgot." Leo asked anxiously. "What are you planning to buy?" "Let's see. I haven't decided yet." Wyatt walked into the mall. The ground floor was lined with brand-name stores and boutiques. After browsing for a bit, he stopped at a Tizot watch store. He scanned the display case and then asked directly, "Hi, do you have any matching watches suitable for a couple?" "Sir, what's your approximate budget?" "Around $2,000. "Then how about this model? It has a white dial, a minimalist style, and looks great on both men and women. The glass is a synthetic sapphire crystal." "Are the two models identical?" "Slightly different. The main distinction is the size of the watch face." "How much is it?" $20 to $100 for the pair." Wyatt nodded. "We'll take it. Can you adjust the band for me?" "You'll need to remove a few links. My girlfriend has a very slender wrist." "No problem." Leo watched as Wyatt bought a pair of watches worth over $2,000 with just a few sentences. It dawned on him then just how much Wyatt had changed. He stood by as Wyatt calmly paid with a scan of his phone. When a salesperson, having removed the extra links and beautifully repackaged the watches, handed them to Wyatt, Leo asked weakly, "Wyatt, how much money have you actually made since starting college?" "Well, to be honest, I'm actually in a lot of debt right now." "You're in debt, but it's not a big deal. What are you planning to get for Sophie?" Leo looked troubled. I haven't decided yet." Seeing his friend's distress, Wyatt knew what he was thinking. He slung an arm around Leo's shoulder, holding the watch bag in his other hand. "You saw me buy these expensive watches, and now you're worried that whatever you get will be too cheap for Sophie, aren't you? Because you don't have that kind of money." "No. Give me a break, just be honest. You're a big boss now. How can I compare to you?" Wyatt let go of Leo, took out his phone, and sent him $500 via Venmo. "I sent you some cash," he said. "You can use it to buy a gift. But you and Sophie have only just met, so I don't recommend buying something as expensive as what I got. There's a reason I bought such a pricey gift." "What reason?" Wyatt, of course, wasn't going to tell Leo. "My mother-in-law dared to lend me $5 million. What's a $2,000 pair of watches compared to that?" "You don't need to know," Wyatt said. "Just know that when Cece and I first got together, I was living off her. She even bought me this phone. Don't compare yourself to me. If you give Sophie a really expensive gift, it might actually put pressure on her. You two aren't officially dating yet. Leo's phone chimed. He pulled it out and saw the $500 transfer from Wyatt. His eyes widened. Whoa, that's a lot. Do I have to pay you back? You can pay me back with your body. Be my free labor for life. Damn it. Leo knew Wyatt was joking. They had known each other for so long that they could practically read each other's minds. He quickly asked, so what kind of gift do you think I should get for Sophie? How about a Polaroid camera? A Polaroid? Yeah, girls love taking pictures. An INS tax isn't too expensive. If you get her that, every time she takes a picture or looks at one, she'll think of you. Leo's face lit up with excitement. That's it. Let's get that. He grabbed Wyatt's arm and practically dragged him to buy the camera. By the time they left the mall, the sun was beginning to set. They hurried to the girls' dormitory. After Wyatt sent a message to Cece, she and her 3 roommates came downstairs. All 4 of them had put on makeup before coming out, each one looking more beautiful than the last. Cece was wearing a white dress with a light blue woolen coat, her long hair cascading naturally down her back. She looked elegant, pure, and sweet. Wyatt stepped forward to meet her, a grin on his face. You look really beautiful today. Even though it wasn't the first time Wyatt had complimented her in front of others, Cece still felt a blush creep up her cheeks. Leo sighed inwardly. If only I had half of Wyatt's thick skin. Isabelle laughed. Wyatt, I'm getting tired of that line. Can't you come up with something new? Wyatt replied without missing a beat. You're not as beautiful as my Cece. Wyatt, what? Are you going to hit me? Only if you have the guts to come out from behind Cece. You want to talking trash about me behind my back. When did I ever talk trash about you? You're a lonely single person. Instead of spending your time trying to find a man, why are you trying to teach them how to date? I'm not trying to find one because I don't want one, not because I can't. Single. Jerk. All right. Cece finally had enough. She turned and playfully covered Wyatt's mouth with her hand. Then she said to the others, it's getting dark. We should get going. The group of 6 hailed a cab and headed for Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. They were going to ring in the new year there, ending 2014, welcoming the upcoming 2015. The trip took an hour and 20 minutes. By the time the group of 6 arrived at the bus station nearest to Six Flags, it was already 7 in the evening. Wyatt suggested they get some dinner before heading to the park, since they would be there for a long time for the New Year celebration. So, the 6 of them went to a nearby shopping plaza and found a Sichuan restaurant. Hello, here's our menu. Wyatt took the menu and handed it to Cece, who then passed it to Isabelle. Isabelle checked off a couple of her favorite dishes and was about to pass the menu to Ashley and Sophie, but they both shook their heads, saying anything was fine. Isabelle's eyes twinkled. She smiled and handed the menu to Leo. Leo, why don't you order? Me? Leo said awkwardly. What if I order something you guys don't like? Isabelle laughed. It's fine as long as Sophie likes it. At her words, Leo's face turned bright red. Isabelle teased him. Leo, why are you blushing? Wyatt wasn't about to let his friend be tormented like this. He immediately slung an arm over Leo's shoulder and explained, he's not blushing. His face is just chapped from the cold. Please. Leo quickly handed the menu back to Wyatt and stared at his lap, not daring to say another word. Under the table, Sophie secretly pinched Isabelle's thigh. Wyatt took the pen, checked off a few more dishes, and handed the menu to the waitress. While waiting for the food, Wyatt received a message from his mother-in-law, asking if he was with Cece. He quickly held up his phone, took a group photo of the 6 of them, and sent it to Miranda, adding, we're about to eat. We're all going to celebrate the new year together tonight. Miranda. Okay, it will be crowded tonight. Be safe. Miranda. Do you have enough money? Wyatt. Don't worry, I have enough. Miranda. All right, you kids have fun. That's all. Wyatt. Okay. Cece had seen that Wyatt was texting with her mother, but when he put his phone away, she turned her head to the side, pretending she hadn't seen anything. After the food arrived, the 6 of them finished their dinner in half an hour. As they left the restaurant, Ashley complained that the food was too spicy, and Isabelle said her mouth was on fire. Wyatt, Cece, and Leo were all from Riverwood, so they would use a spicier food. Sophie, surprisingly, also handled the spice well, a stark contrast to her quiet and introverted personality. Seeing Isabelle and Ashley's red lips, Sophie asked, should I go get you guys something to drink? Wyatt quickly nudged Leo. This time, Leo was smarter and jumped in. I'll go. What do you guys want? Anything is fine. Just water for me. All I want is water right now. Wyatt said, then let's get 6 bottles of water and 6 boba teas. We all have backpacks. Leo nodded and hurried off. He returned about 15 minutes later, carrying a bag of drinks, and explained breathlessly, it's so crowded today. I had to wait in line for a long time. Wyatt put 2 bottles of water in his bag, then shook the boba tea in his hand and offered one to Cece. The group left the plaza and walked towards the bus stop for the free shuttle to Six Flags. Wyatt took a sip of his tea and, seeing Leo trailing foolishly behind Sophie, decided to offer some wisdom. "Hey Leo, did you know you can tell a lot about a woman's social life by what she likes to drink?" Huh? Leo was completely lost. Wyatt grinned. "For example, girls who drink boba tea have a lot of friends. Women who drink red wine have a lot of lovers. Women who drink hard liquor have a lot of stories." Leo thought about it and felt it made some sense. He was about to reply when Isabelle, who had just taken a swig of water, held up her bottle and asked, "What about those of us who like to drink water? You have to pee a lot." Uh-huh. Ashley burst out laughing so hard that tears streamed down her face. Even Sophie couldn't hold back a chuckle. Isabelle shot Wyatt a glare and grumbled, "What's so funny? Why are your senses of humor so juvenile?" Cece secretly pinched the back of Wyatt's hand and then looked up at him with a threatening gaze that clearly meant, "Stop talking nonsense, or Isabelle is really going to get mad." Wyatt just shook his head and smiled, signaling that Isabelle could take a joke. Then he quickly made a zipping motion across his lips, promising to keep quiet. Only then did Cece look away. The group took the shuttle to Six Flags. As soon as they entered, Leo let out a gasp. Whoa, there are so many people. On New Year's Eve, to say the park was packed would be an understatement. The vast majority of the crowd consisted of college students and couples. While Cece was distracted by the sea of people, Wyatt secretly took her small hand in his and whispered, "There are so many people. I have to hold your hand so you don't get lost." Cece didn't pull her hand away. Wyatt's hand was warm, and holding it made her feel safe in the overwhelming crowd. Six Flags was divided into several themed areas, each with different rides. With so many people tonight, the wait for any major attraction would be at least an hour or two. But the park itself was beautifully decorated. Wyatt suggested they follow the park map and walk deeper inside. And if they came across a ride with a shorter line, they would queue up. Everyone agreed, and the six of them followed the flow of the crowd. At 9 o'clock, they finally got on their first ride, El Toro, the massive wooden roller coaster. Wyatt and Cece sat in the third row. Isabelle and Ashley sat in the fourth. Leo and Sophie sat in the fifth. As the roller coaster slowly lurched into motion, Cece instinctively tightened her grip on Wyatt's hand. He turned to look at her serious expression and chuckled. "It's okay. If you're scared, just close your eyes." Cece decisively shut her eyes, but in the rows behind them, Isabelle, Ashley, and Sophie were all buzzing with excitement. The most nervous person among the latter four was, in fact, Leo. This was his first time at a theme park, let alone on a thrilling ride like this. As the coaster slowly clanked its way to the top of the lift hill, Leo felt his heart climb into his throat. He tried his best to stay calm. He didn't want a repeat of the haunted house, where he had been so scared he screamed for his mother. But fear is not something that can be easily controlled. As the coaster reached its peak, a scream erupted from the front row, and the train suddenly accelerated, plunging downwards. Leo felt as if his soul had been flung from his body. He let out a blood-curdling shriek, his voice cracking like a wail. "Yeah, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die." Wyatt shook his head in resignation, thinking to himself, so damn embarrassing. When the six of them stumbled off the roller coaster, Isabelle, Sophie, and Ashley were all beaming, their faces flushed with excitement, still buzzing from the thrilling sensation of weightlessness. Cece, on the other hand, hadn't dared to open her eyes the entire time. During the most intense drops, she had gripped Wyatt's hand so tightly that the faint, crescent-shaped imprints of her nails were visible on his skin. Wyatt didn't say a word. He just pulled a bottle of water from his bag, twisted off the cap, and handed it to her, gently rubbing her back to soothe her nerves. As for Leo, his face was sheet white. He had nearly done a faceplant on the exit ramp, his legs turning to jelly. Feeling utterly embarrassed, he chugged some water and, once his heart rate returned to normal, slunk off to the side, hoping no one would notice him. But Wyatt's eyes followed him. "What are you looking at?" Leo grumbled. Wyatt rolled his eyes. "Just checking to see if you wet your pants." Leo shot him a glare, silently begging him to shut up. He was already mortified. After a short break, the group continued through the park, but the further they went, the more crowded it became. Every decent ride had a line snaking far into the distance, and none of them felt like waiting anymore. They eventually wandered into the boardwalk, a retro-themed area with vintage-style streets perfect for photo ops. Seeing people posing against the old-fashioned storefronts, Wyatt pulled out his phone. "Hey, Cece, let me get a few pictures of you." At first, she was hesitant, but the moment Isabelle and the others heard pictures, they were all for it, jumping in with more enthusiasm than the last. Cece relented and joined them for a few group shots. "All right, that's enough of you guys," Wyatt finally said, waving them away. Shoo! I want to get some solo shots of Cece. Isabelle, Sophie, and Ashley clustered around Wyatt, peering over his shoulder. Having witnessed his photography skills before, they were curious about how he always managed to find the perfect angles. Yeah, just like that. Turn a little to the side and look at me. 3, 2, 1, perfect. Wyatt, crouching low, snapped several shots in quick succession. Then he handed the phone to Isabelle. Hey, can you get a couple of me and Cece? Wyatt walked over to stand next to Cece. She glanced at the camera lens and then at the passers-by, a shy blush creeping up her cheeks. Isabelle took charge, directing them like a pro. Cece, look at the camera. Tilt your head a little toward Wyatt. Yes, just like that. Got it. As Cece started to step away, Wyatt grabbed her hand. One more. What's the rush? Last one, she insisted. Fine, last one. Wyatt agreed with a grin. Now stand still. He positioned her in place, then stepped behind her, wrapping his arms over her shoulders in a warm back hug. Cece's hands instinctively came up to rest on his forearms, their heads leaning together. Isabelle, with lightning-fast reflexes, captured the moment. The resulting photo was saved to Wyatt's phone, a perfect bear hug pose. In it, Wyatt was smiling broadly, while Cece pouted playfully, a look of mock protest on her face. This one came out great. Cece, you have to see this. Cece quickly wiggled out of Wyatt's embrace and huddled with her roommates, all of them peering at the phone screen. That's so cute. The angle, the lighting, it's perfect. Isabelle held her hand out to Wyatt, palm up. He looked at her, confused. What? I took such a great picture, she said with a sly smile. Don't I get a photographer's fee? Wyatt laughed. I'll buy you dinner tomorrow. In that case, you have to take some solo pictures of me now. I need something for my feed. Sure. Me too. Ashley and Sophie chimed in immediately. No problem. We got time. We have to make it to midnight anyway. Wyatt became their personal photographer, snapping several pictures for each of them. He sent the entire batch to their group chat, and the girls found a bench to sit down and begin the meticulous process of editing. While they were preoccupied with filters and captions, Leo sidled up to Wyatt. Before he could even open his mouth, Wyatt, as if reading his mind, said, I'm sending you Sophie's pictures right now. Leo threw his arms around Wyatt in a grateful hug, whispering, You're the best, man. My brother from another mother. Wyatt shrugged him off with a look of disgust. Get off me, you weirdo. He forwarded Sophie's photos to Leo, then quietly set the picture of him and Cece in the bear hug as his new phone wallpaper. A moment later, Isabelle let out a triumphant cry. Done. Haha, go like my post, everyone. Wyatt opened his social media. Sure enough, the first post in his feed was from Isabelle. The caption was simple, and that's a wrap on 2014. Below it was a grid of 9 photos, with a heart emoji in the center. I'm done too. Wyatt refreshed his feed and saw Ashley's new post. Her caption was just as concise. Here's to 2015. All sweet, no bitterness. Good vibes only. It was accompanied by just 3 pictures. Sophie's was even simpler, with just a few words. Peace, joy, and all the best. Seeing them all post, Wyatt decided to join in. He tapped the icon in the top right corner, uploaded the photo of him and Cece standing together, her head tilted toward his, and added a caption. New Year's. With you. Again and again. He hit post. 20 seconds later, a notification popped up. Miranda liked your post. 10 seconds after that, another one. Riley liked your post. A minute later, a Venmo notification appeared. Sarah sent you $1,000. It was followed by a voice message. Wyatt held the phone to his ear. Honey, Mom sent you $1,000. Take that nice girl out for a good meal. Wyatt texted back. I have money, Mom. Sarah replied instantly. You can't be cheap when you're dating, son. That girl is beautiful. You better treat her right. Wyatt, I know. I'll talk to you later. We're gonna go have some more fun. Sarah, okay, go on. After sending the message, Sarah sat beaming on the edge of her bed, her mind already filled with visions of little grandsons and granddaughters running around her. All right, let's see what else is up ahead. Let's go. The group set off again. After walking for another 40 minutes, Sophie was the first to complain. My feet are killing me, she sighed. My legs are so sore, Cece echoed. Wyatt led Cece to a stone bench under a large, leafy tree. Seeing her gently pounding her knees with her small fists, he suddenly reached out, lifted her legs, and placed them across his lap. Then, he began to give her a gentle massage. That tickles. I'm not even tickling you. What's so funny? Cece glanced around nervously, then lowered her head, her cheeks flushing. But she had to admit, her legs didn't feel as sore anymore. After a few minutes, she nudged him. Are you done? You've been rubbing for a while. Wyatt finally let go and patted his shoulder with a grin. Tired? You can borrow this for a bit. Cece saw her roommates sitting under another tree a short distance away. She hesitated for a moment before slowly resting her head on Wyatt's shoulder. The sky was full of stars tonight, glittering like 1,000 tiny crystals. Cece was reminded of a night she first met Wyatt. That night, too, had been filled with stars. She felt a sudden wave of gratitude that she had decided to take a walk by the lake, and that Wyatt had been there, drunk and vulnerable. She smiled softly, nuzzling her head against his shoulder. In her mind, she heard the last line of a song from long ago. "Oh, it's what you do to me." At midnight, a fireworks show was scheduled to take place at Liberty Square, complete with a New Year's countdown. Crowds of visitors were already heading in that direction. Wyatt glanced at the time. "Come on," he said to Cece. "It's almost 12. We can watch the fireworks and then head back." "Okay," Cece replied with a yawn, looking a little sleepy. Wyatt reached out and squeezed her hand, noticing how cold it was. He stood up, took off his down jacket, and draped it over her shoulders. The temperature had dropped, and in the late-night chill, Cece's wool coat wasn't quite enough. She had been fine while sitting, but a gust of wind made her shiver the moment she stood up. The jacket, which fit Wyatt perfectly, was a bit bulky on her, but the inside was still warm from his body heat. She felt instantly cozier. Wyatt stepped in front of her, zipped up the jacket, and pulled the hood over her head. Cece looked up, her wide, watery eyes meeting his. He was now wearing only a light jacket over a long-sleeved shirt. "Aren't you cold?" she asked softly. Wyatt grinned. "It's fine. I can handle it." He turned and called out to the others. "Let's go. Time for the fireworks." The 6 of them hopped on one of the park's trams and rode it to Liberty Square. It was already past 11:50 p.m., and the square was packed with people, all eagerly awaiting the arrival of the new year. This was the first time Cece had ever celebrated New Year's Eve out like this. She tilted her head back, gazing at the calm surface of the water in front of them, and for a moment, she was lost in thought. When she snapped out of it, she looked around in a panic, not seeing Wyatt. She spun around, only to find him standing right behind her. "Wyatt, yeah. Where are Isabelle and the others?" "They went to the restroom. They should be back any minute." "Oh, not cold anymore, are you?" "No. Let me feel your hands." Cece pulled her hands from the pockets of the jacket and held them out. Wyatt wrapped his own hands around hers, rubbing them briskly. "Okay, put them back in your pockets," he said with a smile. Her hands were warm now, but his were noticeably cold. It was the middle of winter, late at night. Of course he was cold with just a thin jacket on. Seeing that her roommates hadn't returned and that everyone around them was lost in their own conversations, Cece looked up at him again. "Wyatt," she said quietly, "I'll let you hug me for a little bit." The crowd was noisy, and Wyatt didn't hear her clearly. He leaned down, bringing his ear close to her mouth. "What did you say?" he asked loudly. Cece's face turned crimson. "I said, I'll let you hug me for a little bit." Before the words were even fully out of her mouth, Wyatt suddenly crouched down and swept her off her feet, lifting her into his arms. "Ah!" Cece let out a small shriek as she was suddenly airborne, falling into his embrace. Her arms instinctively flew around his neck. "I just said you could hug me for a bit. Not like this." "Put me down," she protested. "Nope. You already gave me permission. You weren't specific enough." Cece lightly pounded his shoulder with her small fist, her eyes wide. "You're such a scoundrel. You just now figuring that out?" Wyatt laughed. "Come on, don't be shy. Look around. Some girls are sitting on their boyfriends' shoulders." Cece glanced over and saw that he was right. Several girls were perched on their boyfriends' shoulders, phones held high, waiting for the countdown to begin. Still, the position felt incredibly intimate to her. She tried to stay calm, but her heart was still fluttering wildly in her chest. 1 minute left. A stir went through the crowd as a giant screen in the distance displayed a 60-second countdown. When only 10 seconds remained, everyone in the square began to chant in unison. 10, 9. Cece turned to face the water. Just as the countdown hit 1, a volley of fireworks erupted from the surface, blooming in the night sky like giant pink roses. In that same instant, Wyatt lowered his head and called her name. As she turned back to him, he finally let her down, placing her gently on the ground. He cupped her face with both hands, leaned in, and captured her soft lips with his. For that moment, the stars, the fireworks, and the distant city lights all faded into the background, and the people around them became mere extras in their private world. Wyatt pulled back and looked at her, his expression serious. "You know," he said, "right now you're 1,000 times more beautiful than this fireworks show." Cece's cheeks were flushed. Even though the kiss was over, she could still feel the lingering warmth on her lips. She lowered her head and took a small step forward, burying her shy face in his chest. "Sophie." While While everyone around them was celebrating the new year, Leo finally worked up the courage to call out to Sophie, who was standing nearby. When Isabelle and Ashley had excused themselves to go to the restroom, Isabelle had given Leo a meaningful look. He knew they had probably come back long ago and were deliberately staying away to give him and Sophie some time alone. If he could figure that out, Sophie surely could too. When she heard him call her name, she was already a little nervous. She turned to him, feigning ignorance. "What is it?" Under the glow of the fireworks, Sophie's face was as radiant as the moon. Just looking at her made Leo's heart pound. He unzipped his backpack and pulled out the Instax camera he had bought at the mall that afternoon. He held it out to her, stammering, I got you. A New Year's gift." Sophie was taken by surprise. She looked down at the camera, then back up at Leo, noticing that he was even more nervous than she was. Forcing a calm expression, she took the camera and said softly, "Thank you." Whether he was suddenly enlightened or just running on pure adrenaline, Leo managed to say something remarkably profound. "I hope we can spend next New Year's together too." Then, as if realizing that might have been too forward, he quickly added, "No, I hope we can spend every New Year's together. From now on." Sophie offered a small, gentle smile. "Maybe. We will." At the back of the crowd, Ashley watched the fireworks burst in the air. "Isabelle," she said with a smile, "I thought you said you shouldn't rush into relationships. Why are you suddenly playing matchmaker?" "I said you shouldn't rush," Isabelle retorted. "I never said you couldn't start. It feels like Wyatt and Leo are two complete extremes. One is a total pro, and the other is a total amateur. They're both all right. Wyatt knows how to take care of someone. And while Leo might be a bit of a clueless guy, at least his intentions are pure." Ashley noticed Isabelle clasping her hands together. "What are you doing?" "Making a wish." "What are you wishing for?" "That I can finally get a boyfriend this year." "Oh wait, it's 2015 now. I hope I get a boyfriend this year." "I'll make a wish too that." "What are you wishing for?" "I wish that your wish fails. You can only get a boyfriend after I find one first." "Ashley, you're dead to me." "Ashley, I can't believe you'd be so cruel." "Ashley, get back here." "Ha ha ha, no time to talk. I'm gonna go spy on Wyatt and Cece making out. Bye." By the time they left Six Flags and got back to the hotel, it was already 2 in the morning. Having never stayed up so late, everyone was exhausted. As soon as Wyatt got back to the room, he told Leo to shower first, then sent a text to Cece, calling her over from the room across the hall. Cece opened her door, looking puzzled. "What's wrong?" "Here." Wyatt finally handed her the watch he'd bought that afternoon. He held up his own wrist with a grin. "Your New Year's gift. I have one too. I almost forgot to give it to you." Cece opened the box. Inside lay a delicate, silver-white lady's watch, clearly a matching set with Wyatt's. It was elegant, and while not outrageously expensive, it was a very nice gift for a college student. "I had them adjust the band. Try it on. If it doesn't fit, I could take it back to get it resized." Cece pushed up her sleeve, revealing a slender, pale wrist, and fastened the watch. She shook her hand gently. "It's a perfect fit," she said with a smile. "Good." Wyatt smiled back. "Get some sleep. No need to rush in the morning." "Sleep in." Cece nodded obediently and, with a playful good night, closed the door. The long night was finally over, but Wyatt barely slept a wink. For a hotel that looked decent on the outside, the walls were ridiculously thin. The next morning, Leo woke up full of energy. "It's New Year's Day. What's the plan?" Wyatt shot back. "Are you sure it's New Year's Day?" "Last night, the girl in the next room was screaming daddy all night. I thought it was Father's Day. Why didn't I hear anything?" "Your snoring was louder than she was." "Of course you didn't hear anything." Leo gave an embarrassed chuckle and wisely dropped the subject. The hotel offered breakfast until 10, so at 9:30, Wyatt sent a message to the group chat, waking up Cece and her roommates. After quickly getting ready, the 6 of them went upstairs for breakfast and discussed the day's plans. "Let's just chill at the hotel this morning and recharge. We can find something to do this afternoon. What do you guys want to do?" "I want to get my nails done. Let's go shopping. We could try pottery." Everyone chattered at once, throwing out ideas. Wyatt, running on only a few hours of sleep, felt his head spin. He didn't have the energy for any of it. Isabelle suddenly cut through the noise. "We were out all night yesterday. Let's not overdo it today. How about we just find a quiet place to eat snacks and watch a movie?" "And where are we going to find a quiet place like that?" "How about my house?" Everyone looked at Isabelle. Wyatt had almost forgotten she was a local. She spoke without a trace of an accent, unlike Alex, the NYC native in his dorm who constantly dropped phrases like "fugga but it," or "you kidding me?" "There are a lot of us. Would that be okay?" Wyatt asked. Isabelle smiled and explained, "My dad works in Australia, and my mom spends most of her time there too. Except for the month around the holidays, my house is usually empty." "Is it far from here?" Ashley asked. "Not all. It's only a 20-minute bus ride. That's really close. Wyatt made a decision. All right, after we eat, let's all go back to our rooms and rest for a bit. We'll leave at 11:30, hit a supermarket for food and drinks, and then head to Isabelle's place. Sound good? I'm in. Should we grab lunch before we go? Wyatt looked at Isabelle. Can we use your kitchen? I can cook. Seriously? Of course. The kitchen works, but you'll have to buy the ingredients yourself. Wyatt nodded. We'll get everything at the supermarket. Okay. Isabelle's house was in a quiet New Jersey suburb. Though not in the bustling city center, it was a charming, single-family home with its own yard. Owning a 2-story, 2,000-square-foot house in the greater NYC area easily put her family in the top 10% of the country. The house had a vintage, old-world European feel and had clearly been around for a while. The front door opened to a neat little yard. When I was a kid, this whole yard was full of flowers, Isabelle explained as she led them in. But after my dad went abroad, there was no one to take care of them, so we just had it paved with flagstones. She fished a key from her purse, unlocked the front door, and walked inside. The living room was spacious, dominated by a large sofa covered with a dust sheet. Most of the other furniture was similarly protected, but the room itself was spotless. Should we take off our shoes? No, it's fine. Come on in. Isabelle pulled off the dust sheets, invited them to sit, and flipped the main circuit breaker on. Should we put the stuff we just bought in the fridge? Wyatt smiled. No need. It's already 11. I need to get started. Leo, come give me a hand. Isabelle opened the kitchen door with a grin. I have zero talent in the culinary arts, so don't expect any help from me. Then you're on dish duty later. Isabelle huffed. Why me? Can't you make your precious Cece do it? Of course not. Why? I couldn't bear to see her do it. I'm speechless, Isabelle said, rolling her eyes. She left the kitchen to Wyatt and went back to the living room. The girls had already turned on the TV. Ashley sat in the middle of the couch with Cece and Sophie on either side, their heads resting on her shoulders. Ashley browsed through recent TV shows with the remote, but finding nothing interesting, she put on How I Met Your Mother, and the four of them settled in a watch. In the kitchen, Leo washed vegetables while chatting with Wyatt. Wyatt, yeah, I feel like after last night, Sophie and I are a step closer. I can tell. So what's my next move? Your schools are close. You should go see her often. A million texts can't compare to 10 words in person. Leo lowered his voice. So, when can I hold her hand? Wyatt, busy chopping vegetables, replied, There's a method to it. You can't just ask if you can hold her hand. She'll definitely say no. Then what do I say? You say things like, your hands are so small, or let's compare hand sizes. Or I heard girls' hands are really soft. How are you so much paler than me? Your hands smell so nice. I love your nails today. Or can I read your palm? Leo's eyes widened. Dude. On the living room couch, Isabelle, having seen every episode of How I Met Your Mother multiple times, wasn't paying much attention to the TV. She fiddled with her phone for a bit, then noticed the watch on Cece's wrist. Cece, is that from Wyatt? She asked with a smile. Before Cece could answer, Ashley chimed in. You're just noticing? I saw them wearing matching watches at breakfast this morning. Cece nodded, shaking her wrist slightly. It's pretty nice, right? Miranda had actually bought Cece a watch before. The same Vacheron Constantine she now wore herself, but Cece had rarely worn it. Though that watch was far more expensive than this one, Cece didn't care about the price. The one from Wyatt meant more. Sophie, what did Leo give you? Sophie knew she couldn't hide it. Her purse was so small that when she put the Instax camera in it last night, the zipper wouldn't even close. She came clean. An Instax camera. It's so nice to have a boyfriend. Ashley, order me a boba tea. I want the pumpkin walnut dew. No pumpkin, no walnut dew, just the man inside. Get lost, Ashley shot back. We don't have that. Hearing the sizzle of cooking from the kitchen, Sophie lowered her voice. Should I not have accepted his gift? If you decided to see where things go with him, why not? Isabelle said, you can give him a gift for his birthday or something. Just don't get reeled in as fast as some people. Cece knew Isabelle was talking about her. She shot her a glare and pretended not to hear, turning her attention back to the TV. Isabelle continued to dispense her wisdom. The first step in dating is holding hands. I suggest doing it within 2 weeks of making things official. The next step is hugging, which should happen within 2 to 3 months. After that, it's kissing, but that depends on the situation. She looked at Sophie. Leo hasn't held your hand yet, has he? Sophie quickly shook her head. Well, you need to be careful, Isabelle said with a grin. Once you hold hands, there's usually no stopping the train. Sophie waved her hands frantically. No, it won't be that fast. Listen to me. Guys have a million tricks up their sleeves when they want to hold your hand. He's definitely not going to just come out and say, can I hold your hand? Then what will they say? They'll say things like, your hand are so small, or let's compare hand sizes. Or, I heard girls' hands are really soft. Or, can I read your palm? Stuff like that. Then they'll use it as an excuse to make their move. And once they've held it once, there will be a second time and a third. Ashley, Sophie, and Cece listened, completely captivated. In the kitchen, Wyatt was the head chef and Leo was his prep cook. It said that work is easier when men and women team up, but the two of them work together in perfect harmony. Leo's family owned a small supermarket, and with his parents always busy, he had learned to cook in middle school. He started with noodles, moved on to egg fried rice, and eventually learned to stir-fry. His early attempts weren't great, but practice made perfect. With time being short, Wyatt kept the menu simple, 5 dishes and a soup, but with generous portions. The main course was braised short ribs, accompanied by Coca-Cola chicken wings, pork and eggplant stir-fry, cucumber and chicken stir-fry, and a simple hand-torn cabbage. The soup was a light, 3-delicacy tofu soup. They started cooking around 11:30 and were done by 12:30. As the last dish was plated, Isabelle and the others drifted into the kitchen, showering them with compliments. It smells amazing. It looks so appetizing. I had no idea you two were such good cooks. Thanks for all your hard work. You handsome chefs. All right, enough with the flattery. Get your own bowls and serve yourselves. The bowls are in the cabinet, Isabelle said quickly. You should probably rinse them. They've been washed, but they've been sitting for a while. Where's the rice paddle? I'll get it. The square dining table seated 6 perfectly. Wyatt served Cece a bowl of rice first, then got one for himself. As soon as he sat down, Cece scooped a small portion of her rice into his bowl. Thankfully, he had anticipated this and hadn't filled his own bowl to the brim. I'm digging in. Go ahead, don't be shy. We're all friends here. Everyone eagerly tasted the food, their satisfiedness and awe filling the room, followed by high praise. This was the first time Cece had tried Wyatt's cooking. She wasn't a picky eater, but having tasted all sorts of gourmet food, she thought the dishes were just okay. Still, hearing her roommates rave about Wyatt, she felt a little flicker of pride. Her expression seemed to say, "My boyfriend is pretty amazing, isn't he?" The table was filled with light-hearted chatter. After the meal, Ashley and Sophie volunteered to do the dishes. Just as they were about to clear the table, Wyatt stopped Ashley. "Don't worry about it. Let's leave the dishwashing to Leo and Sophie." The light bulb went on for Ashley. "Oh, right," she said, nodding eagerly. "Fine by me. Less work for me." Sophie pouted, as if complaining that Ashley had abandoned her so quickly, but she soon joined Leo in clearing the table. Full and content, the group sprawled out on the couches again. Seeing Cece, Isabelle, and Ashley all on the large sofa, Wyatt sat on the single armchair next to them. "Want to watch a movie?" "Sure. What do you guys want to watch? I can stream it from my phone." "Anything but horror," Ashley said. "And we girls aren't into action movies," Isabelle added. Wyatt opened a streaming app and scrolled through the options. "How about a romantic comedy?" he suggested with a smile. "Which one?" "That awkward moment. It's got Zac Efron, Michael B. Jordan. Let's watch that one." Wyatt hit play and cast the video to the TV. After cleaning up in the kitchen, Leo and Sophie returned to the living room. The problem was the large sofa was a 3-seater. For could squeeze, but it would be tight. Seeing everyone engrossed in the movie, Leo whispered to Sophie, "Why don't you take the single armchair?" Sophie whispered back, "What about you? I can sit on the floor." Just as Sophie was about to reply, Wyatt turned to Cece. "Cece, let's sit together. You can give your spot to Sophie." Cece glanced at Wyatt's armchair, then at Leo and Sophie. As she hesitated, Isabelle grinned. "Oh, come on, you two can squeeze. You're practically an old married couple anyway." She even gave Cece a little nudge with her hip. Though embarrassed, Cece saw that Leo and Sophie were still standing awkwardly, so she got up and squeezed onto the armchair with Wyatt. Sophie quickly sat down next to Ashley, and Leo took the other single armchair. The movie played on. Wyatt had seen it before, but had forgotten most of the plot. As everyone's attention focused on the screen, the living room fell silent, punctuated only by the occasional crunch of potato chips. But when the movie's progress bar reached the 11-minute, 15-second mark, the expressions on the faces of the 6 people on the couch began to shift. A sex scene had just begun. If this were a guy's dorm room, the moment a scene like this appeared, everyone would immediately crowd around the screen to appreciate it, offering their expert commentary. "Damn, she's got a great body. Stupid director. Not even giving us a close-up. This guy's acting is so fake." If this were a girl's dorm room, they would instantly look away. Some might find an excuse to get up and move around, while others would pretend not to care, starting a conversation about something else. But if one of them were watching alone, she might cover her eyes, peeking through her fingers, and maybe even rewind to watch it again. But But here, in a living room with both guys and girls, the atmosphere thickened with a certain kind of ambiguity. No one made a sound. Even the crunching of chips had ceased. Cece's eyes darted around, flickering between the TV screen and anywhere else. The single armchair was already a tight fit for two, and Wyatt, who had taken her hand shortly after she sat down, was now getting restless. As the scene played out, his fingers traced patterns on the back of her hand and toyed with her palm, making Cece's face burn. On the big couch, Ashley pretended a message had come through on her phone, staring down at the screen, but only swiping back and forth between two apps without opening either. Sophie stood up and, with her head down and face flushed, began meticulously sorting through the snacks on the coffee table. Isabelle, ever the experienced one, forced a look of composure, refusing to act flustered like the others. And Leo sat like a wooden statue, clearly embarrassed by the public viewing, but probably would have been completely unfazed if he were alone. Thankfully, the scene didn't last long. Just as a collective, unspoken sigh of relief filled the room, Wyatt turned to the three girls on the couch with a mischievous grin. Should we rewind and watch that again? Get lost. No, you pig. Cece didn't yell at him, but she did give his arm a sharp pinch, her eyes flashing a warning. I'm warning you. Don't you dare say another word. Wyatt just laughed. He grabbed a bag of fries from the table, ate a couple himself, and then held one up to Cece's lips. She eyed it for a second before giving in and taking a bite. The rest of the movie was a blur for Wyatt. Already sleep-deprived, his eyelids started to feel heavy. By the halfway point, he had drifted off. After the movie ended, it seemed his sleepiness was contagious. One by one, the others dozed off, sprawled across the couches in various positions. This left Cece in the most awkward spot. Wyatt's arm was still loosely around her waist, and she couldn't move. If she wanted to lie down like the others, the limited space meant she'd have to lie in his arms. She hesitated, but seeing everyone else with their eyes closed, she decided not to overthink it. She placed her phone on the coffee table, slowly leaned against Wyatt, and closed her eyes. The living room fell completely silent, the only sound the soft ticking of the clock on the wall. Tick-tock. Time slipped away. When Wyatt woke up, the room was dim. He glanced out the window and saw that the sky had started to darken. Sophie and Isabelle were still asleep. Ashley was awake, quietly playing on her phone. Leo was nowhere to be seen, probably in the bathroom. Wyatt remained still. Cece was curled up in his arms, sleeping peacefully, her breathing soft and even. He decided this moment was worth capturing. He quietly called Ashley's name and had her pass him his phone from the coffee table. He took the phone, opened the camera, switched it to selfie mode, and started snapping away. Looking at the photos of Cece nestled against him like a little kitten, with a tiny, adorable hint of drool at the corner of her mouth, he couldn't help but smile. Just then, Cece's eyes fluttered open. For a few seconds, her gaze was blank. Then, as she registered the situation, she sat up abruptly. But it was too late. She realized Wyatt was awake too. You're a heavy sleeper. Cece ignored him. Want to sleep a little longer? He continued. No, let me show you what you look like when you're sleeping. Wyatt leaned in and showed her the photos he'd just taken. When Cece saw the picture of herself asleep in his arms, her pale face instantly turned a deep shade of red. You took pictures of me again, she exclaimed. I won't show them to anyone else, he quickly promised. I don't want to talk to you. Get away from me. I'm telling you, I'm grumpy when I wake up. The sound of their conversation woke Isabelle and Sophie. Seeing that it was already dark outside, Sophie asked in a daze, What time is it? A little after 5. Shouldn't we be heading back to campus? It'll take over an hour to get back from here, right? Yeah. Wyatt got up and called out, Leo. Leo. He was gone when I woke up, Ashley said. You should probably call him. Wyatt nodded, pulled out his phone, and dialed Leo's number. The ringtone sounded from the yard. A moment later, Leo walked in from outside. Seeing everyone awake, he scratched his head and grinned sheepishly. I wasn't sleepy, and you were all out, so I went to the supermarket and bought some dumplings. Figured we could have a simple dinner. Nice one, Leo. You're getting better at this. Should I go cook the dumplings now? Wyatt waved a hand. Go ahead. We're in no rush. We don't have anything tomorrow. Leo went straight to the kitchen. After he cooked the dumplings, the 6 of them ate a bowl each, then helped Isabelle tidy up the house. Around 6 o'clock, they finally left her place and took the subway back toward the Juilliard campus. On the way, Wyatt got a call from Sarah. Honey, what time did you guys get back last night? 2 in the morning. So late. Where did you sleep? A hotel. Where else? We weren't going to sleep on the street. Did you sleep? With that girl? Mom, what kind of person do you think I am? Well, it's hard to say. No, don't get the wrong idea. I shared a room with Leo. Oh, good. But we did sleep together this afternoon. You are unbelievable. How did the Miller family produce someone so shameless? I'm telling you, you have to take responsibility for her. Wyatt couldn't be bothered to listen to Sarah's lecture. I know, he said perfunctorily and hung up. Though Cece didn't know what was said, she knew the person on the other end was Wyatt's mother. The moment he hung up, she balled her little fists and hammered his back several times before storming off ahead of him. Why are you walking so fast? Do you even know the way? Cece spun around, glared at him, but stopped in her tracks. When Wyatt caught up, she whispered a fierce warning. If you say anything like that again, you are dead. What did I say that was wrong? Wyatt put on a shameless expression and took her hand again. I was just telling the truth. Hearing this, Cece snatched her hand back, stomped on his foot, and ran over to walk with Isabelle and the others. Leo watched this unfold with a goofy grin. Wyatt shot him a sideways glance. What are you smiling at? None of your business. It's called tough love, Wyatt declared with confidence. Don't you get it? Leo didn't bother replying and just trotted to catch up with Sophie. The group took the subway back, and by the time they reached the campus, it was already 7:30. In the winter, the sky was pitch black by 6, and the campus was nearly deserted. After walking the girls back to their dorm, Wyatt and Leo found a hotel about 500 yards from the campus and checked into a room with 2 double beds. After a long nap that afternoon, Wyatt wasn't the least bit sleepy. He lay on his bed, studying the stock charts on his phone, while Leo sat on the other bed, engrossed in a mobile action game called Chrono Hunter. Around 11, Wyatt's stomach started to rumble. Leo, you hungry? A little. Come on, let's go get some late-night food. Dude, do you know how cold it is out there? Stop complaining. Are you coming or not? Leo weighed his options for a few seconds before getting up. They left the hotel and found a nearby 24-hour diner. Leo immediately snagged a booth near a heating vent while Wyatt went up to the counter. Hey, can we get 2 orders of your special scramble? With sausage or bacon? Both. The cook fired up the grill and expertly started on their food. Wyatt finished ordering and sat down across from Leo. Leo put down his phone and sighed. Wyatt, I've been thinking about something. What's that? Isabelle and your girlfriend, their families are so well off. Do you think Sophie's family is rich too? Wyatt nodded. Students at art schools like Juilliard generally come from money. Are you worried you and Sophie aren't in the same league? Leo wouldn't have had this conversation with anyone else. Only with Wyatt could he be this open. He nodded. Yeah, your girlfriend's mom might like you, but Sophie's parents might not like me. Don't worry about it. We may not have been born with silver spoons, but we can be the ones who earn them. Earn them? Come on. I know my own limits. I don't have connections, and I don't have any special skills. Honestly, I feel like the gap between us is getting bigger and bigger. Seeing the worried look on Leo's face, Wyatt was suddenly flooded with memories of their past. In their previous life, they often went out for late-night food, just like this. 2 men in unhappy marriages, they always had endless things to talk about. Leo always had that same expression when he drank. The night he got divorced, he had cried his eyes out. Leo seemed simple on the surface, but he was incredibly fragile underneath. He would put on a brave face in front of others, but when he was alone or with Wyatt, he would break down talking about his sorrows. Wyatt would never forget the night before he was reborn. Lying on the pavement after being hit by a car, his consciousness fading, it was Leo holding him, screaming at passersby to call 911, wailing in despair. What are you afraid of? I've got your back. Before we graduate, I'll make sure you're set up so well that Sophie's parents will have no reason to look down on you. I hope so. The cook brought over their scrambles, and they both grabbed forks and dug in. It was past midnight when they left the diner. Back at the hotel, they quickly brushed their teeth and fell into bed. The next day, Wyatt didn't drag Cece anywhere special. They just took a walk in nearby Riverside Park and then spent a few hours shopping with their roommates. The day passed quickly. That evening, at the campus entrance, Wyatt stopped. Leo, go on ahead and wait for me. Leo glanced at Wyatt, then at Cece, understood they needed a moment, and walked off toward the subway station alone. When Leo was a good distance away, Wyatt smiled. Next month around this time, we'll be on break. I'll have to buckle down for finals. Cece knew how important final exams were at a regular university. She finished his sentence for him. Then you should focus on studying this month. Don't worry about coming to see me. The break is almost here anyway. Let me know as soon as your school announces your break schedule, so I can book tickets. And message me if you need anything. If I don't reply right away, just call. Unless I'm in class, my phone will be on. I know. I'm going now. Okay. Wyatt scratched his head. I feel like I'm forgetting something. He stepped forward and wrapped Cece in a hug. For the first time, she didn't resist. She knew he wouldn't just leave without this. She stood perfectly still, even slowly wrapping one arm around his waist. He's already taken advantage of me so many times, she thought to herself. The next time I see him will be a month from now. I'll just let him have this one last time. I'm really going now, he said. Okay, don't forget to miss me, right? Wyatt smiled, waved, and walked toward the subway. Cece watched him until he was a small figure in the distance before turning back toward her dorm. At the subway entrance, Leo saw Wyatt approaching. What took you so long? He asked, annoyed. She didn't want you to leave. Stop showing off. Leo rolled his eyes. Are you coming back this month? Wyatt shook his head. Probably not. Finals are coming up. Are you going to fail? Leo asked quickly. Normally. I'd be toast. Leo was about to laugh when Wyatt added, but I think I can work something out. I might just pass everything. How can you work something out for that? We'll see after the exams. After the New Year's holiday, life became much less interesting. Over the next couple of weeks, professors started outlining the key topics for the final exams. The students' motivation to study surged. Even a slacker like Wyatt forced himself to open a book. But every time he did, the words on the page seemed like a hypnotic spell, and it wasn't long before he was nodding off. Among his 3 roommates, Sam was the least worried about exams. He was actually looking forward to them, as the student advisor had already announced that scholarships were tied to final exam performance. Chris had been paying attention in class. He was a quick study. Even if he didn't know how to solve a problem, he could usually figure out after Sam explained it once. As for Alex, he wasn't much better off than Wyatt and was now cramming frantically. His only advantage over Wyatt was that he had a knack for memorizing things, so at least some of the information was sticking. The truth was, for most people, their intellectual peak was senior year of high school. After the long summer following graduation, their brain power started a steady decline. The last week of the month, the university let out for a designated reading week for students to prepare for finals. Every morning, Wyatt would wake up to the sight of his 3 roommates already at their desks, studying quietly. At first, he didn't think much of it, but seeing how serious they all were, he started to feel a strange sense of pressure. Yet, whenever he picked up a book, he felt a wave of restlessness. He decided the dorm's academic atmosphere was lacking. Hey, what if we go to the library to study this afternoon? He suggested. Sure. I haven't even been to the library yet. I hear it's packed this time of year. Let's go for lunch at 11:30 and get to the library by noon. We'll definitely get seats then. Sound good. Sam, who had already finished most of his reviewing, turned around. Wyatt, if there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. Wyatt sighed like a world-weary old man. You might not believe this, but there isn't a single problem in this book that I know how to do. Chris laughed. Then how did you get into this school? The entrance requirements aren't exactly low. Wyatt spun a tale. After I finished my SATs, I went home and took a nap. When I woke up, it was like my brain had been wiped clean. I couldn't even understand the problems I used to know how to solve. No way. Alex said, jumping in. I'm kind of the same. After that summer, I looked back at my old high school tests, and I couldn't do more than half the problems. The 4 of them chatted until it was almost noon, then grabbed their books and headed to the cafeteria. After eating, they went straight to the library. Just as they'd expected, the normally quiet library had become the most popular spot on campus 2 weeks before finals. Even at midday, it was filled with students frantically cramming. There weren't many seats on the first floor, which was mostly bookshelves. The 4 of them went up to the 3rd floor and finally found a table. Wyatt placed his stack of books on the table and picked up a calculus textbook. He flipped through 2 pages, realized he didn't understand a thing, and switched to a probability textbook. Still no luck. Finally, he opened his microeconomics textbook and managed to read a little. But after less than half an hour, he started to feel drowsy. He went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on his face. It woke him up, but he still couldn't focus. Giving up, Wyatt went down to the 2nd floor and started wandering through the stacks. The library had a huge collection, even a section for fantasy novels. After some searching, he finally found a book in a dusty corner that piqued his interest, a critical analysis of European art house erotica. Around 8 that evening, it was time for their daily chat. Wyatt started typing, spent all afternoon studying. I'm exhausted. Cece, you can do it. Cece, we have finals too, but it's just basic music theory. It should be pretty easy. Wyatt, my exams start on the 2nd and end around the 5th. Leo's is about the same. What about you? Cece, I should be done on the 3rd. Wyatt, then I'll buy tickets for the 6th. Can you stay in your dorm for a couple more days? Cece, okay. Wyatt quickly reported the plan to his future mother-in-law. Aunt Miranda, Cece, and I will be back in Riverwood on the 6th, probably around 1 p.m. Miranda replied instantly. Okay, take good care of Cece. Wyatt, don't worry. He booked 3 tickets and sent the confirmation to Cece. Tickets are booked. I'll come find you on the afternoon of the 5th. Cece, okay. Wyatt, are you in bed already? Cece, yeah. Wyatt, let's video chat. Cece, why? Wyatt, I haven't seen you in a while. I miss you. Cece, no, I already took off my makeup, and I haven't washed my hair. Wyatt, you're beautiful even without makeup. Cece, no. Wyatt, then let me see your legs. Cece, I knew you were going to say that. Wyatt, pleading face, Wyatt. Smiling face with hearts, smiling face with hearts, smiling face with hearts. Cece held back a laugh. She glanced at her 3 roommates, who were all busy with their own things. After a moment's consideration, she closed the messaging app, opened her camera, and pulled her blanket up slightly, revealing her small, adorable feet. Her skin was so pale that the faint blue veins on the top of her feet were visible. Each toe was perfectly formed, like a delicate work of art. She secretly snapped a picture and sent it to Wyatt. 10 seconds later, she deleted it. Wyatt panicked. Wyatt, why did you delete it? Wyatt, I didn't even get to see it. Cece, I clicked the wrong thing. Cece, good thing you didn't see it. Wyatt, Cece, you're playing games with me. Wyatt, how about this? I'll send you a picture of my feet. We can trade. Cece, angry face Cece, who want to see your gross troll feet. Wyatt, fine, then I'll send you a picture of my abs. Cece, no, Cece, I don't want to see. Wyatt, then I'll send it to Isabelle and Ashley. I'm sure they'd love to see it. Cece, Wyatt, I'm just teasing you. I'd only show you. Wyatt, not only will I show you, I'll let you touch. Cece's cheeks flushed a deep crimson. She had no idea how to reply. The first semester final exams finally arrived. On the morning of February 3rd, Wyatt woke up early and forced himself to memorize a few key points from his textbook. Seeing his 3 roommates getting ready to head to the exam room, he grabbed a pen and prepared to go with them. Alex, looking worried, saw Wyatt's relaxed expression and was bewildered. Wyatt, aren't you scared of failing? Already fessed up to the student advisor last night. Told her I'd definitely fail if I took the test normally. And then she chewed me out, asking how I could be class president and still fail, asking if I had any shame. But then she told me that all the proctors are from our department, and a lot of them are her office mates. So, Wyatt looked at him, exasperated. The subtext is that they won't be super strict. Our seats are assigned by student ID. Hannah is in front of me, and Sam is to my left. I'll copy the answers for the first few sections, then just scribble something for the long answer questions to fill the space. Should be fine. Our own professor is grading the papers anyway. Damn it. Alex immediately panicked. He threw an arm around Sam's shoulder. Sam, don't you dare let him see your paper later. Sam looked awkward. I don't know about that. If he fails, he has to retake the course. There was no way Sam would refuse Wyatt. In fact, he was the one who had told Wyatt their seating arrangement in the first place. He saw the final exam as his one chance to repay Wyatt's kindness. After arriving at the exam hall, they found their assigned seats. About 15 minutes later, the proctor came in with the exams. After handing them out, she sat down at the front desk and, very helpfully, proceeded to stare blankly into space. Wyatt flipped to the back of the exam, filled in the few answers he had memorized that morning, and then rested his head on the desk, also staring into space. About halfway through the exam, Sam finished his paper. He glanced at the proctor, then deliberately slid his answer sheet to the edge of his desk. Wyatt's eyesight was decent. In no time, he had finished all the multiple choice and short answer questions. He did a quick mental calculation and figured he had enough points to pass, so he didn't bother with the remaining long answer questions. He used the same strategy for all his exams over the next 2 days. On the morning of the 5th, after finishing his last exam in statistics, the first semester of his freshman year was officially over. Cece's Fresh Market had been running a clearance sale during exam week. By the 5th, there was hardly any fruit left. Wyatt gave the remaining stock to his employees, and on that same day, the store closed for the winter break. The startup was also on hiatus, as the athletic center and the entrepreneurship hub would be closed and the vending machines would see almost no business. Jessica, however, volunteered to monitor the vending machine back end remotely. With everything at school settled, Wyatt packed his bags and took the subway to find Cece. He had been looking forward to this day for the past 2 weeks. Cece knew Wyatt's last exam was that morning, so she had been messaging him nonstop since noon. They chatted continuously until Wyatt was about to get off the subway. Cece quickly put on her shoes and headed for the campus gate. Seeing Wyatt approaching with his suitcase, she hurried to meet him. Did you come straight here without eating? Yeah, no lunch, no breakfast. My stomach was growling on the train. Why didn't you eat? I wanted to see you sooner, Wyatt said with a smile. Come on, let's get some food. They walked side by side toward the nearby commercial street. After just a few steps, Wyatt took her hand. Noticing it was a bit cold, he stopped, breathed warm air into his palms, and then gently rubbed her hands between his. He frowned. You're wearing a down jacket. Why are your hands still so cold? Cece pouted. I don't know. Are you not wearing long underwear? Cece looked away, not answering. Wyatt knew he had guessed right. He gently poked her nose. After we eat, you're going back to put on more clothes. You're so bossy. Come on, let's go eat. Cece got behind him and pushed him forward. Wyatt laughed. Let's go to the hotel first. It's a pain to drag this suitcase around. All right. A few minutes later, they walked into a hotel they had stayed at before. Wyatt took out his wallet and handed his ID to the receptionist. The young woman at the front desk took his ID and asked with a knowing smile, a standard room with 2 beds? Or a king room? A king room, please, Wyatt said. He figured since he was staying alone, he might as well get a big bed. The price was about the same, and the beds in the standard rooms were small. But as soon as he said it, Cece gently tugged on the corner of his shirt. Wyatt turned to look at her. Can we get another room? She whispered. Why? He whispered back, confused. Isabelle went home this morning, she explained. I'm the only one left in the dorm. Wyatt was about to say, so what? But then it dawned on him that she might be scared to stay in the dorm alone. He quickly changed his tune, turning back to the receptionist. Wait, on second thought, let's just get a standard room with 2 beds. Are you sure? Positive. The receptionist quickly processed the request. Wyatt took the key card and led Cece to the elevator. Once they were inside, Cece demanded, Didn't I tell you to get 2 rooms? A standard room has 2 beds. We can each have one. It's perfect. I don't want to. Don't worry. The most I'll do is hold you and talk for a bit. I won't do anything else. You have to trust me. Besides, I'm in the startup phase of my business. I have to save money where I can. I have my own money, Cece huffed, and I'm not falling for that. Isabelle told me that a man's words are not to be trusted. Wyatt immediately argued his case. You're scared to stay in the dorm alone, so why would you want to stay in a hotel room alone? Our break started early, so the campus is practically empty. Isabelle only stayed with me the last 2 nights because she knew I was scared. As they spoke, they arrived at their room. Wyatt swiped the key card, opened the door, and pulled a suitcase inside. He turned to her with a calm expression. If you really don't trust me, then after we eat, we can get another room next door. Cece saw the hint of disappointment on his face. She glanced at the 2 beds in the room, hesitated for a moment, and then said with a blush, Then you have to promise you won't act like a hooligan tonight. Wyatt immediately raised his hand and grinned. I swear. Seeing his expression change so quickly, Cece suddenly felt like she had walked right into a trap. Damn it. He tricked me again. After dropping their luggage at the hotel, Wyatt and Cece went to get something to eat. That afternoon, Wyatt had an important errand to run, buying a gold bracelet for his mom. This had been part of his plan for a while. He had already come clean to his dad about the fresh market, but his mom was still in the dark. He planned to tell them about his trading company on this trip home. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain if he suddenly became wealthy. When Cece heard his plan, she casually asked, What kind of person is your mom? My mom. Yeah, she's great in every way, just a little naggy. But that's only with me and my dad. Wyatt's expression turned mischievous. Why do you ask? Worried about the future mother-in-law-daughter-in-law relationship. Cece quickly pushed him away, turning her head and pouting. What are you talking about? Haha, you don't have to worry about that. If you come to my house, my parents will definitely treat you really, really well. Cece wisely remained silent, not wanting to continue the embarrassing topic. They went to the mall. The ground floor was lined with at least 3 or 4 jewelry stores. Chow Tai Fook, Chow Sang Sang, Lao Fong Xiang. Wyatt scanned them all and finally pulled Cece into the first one, a Chow Tai Fook. He got straight to the point with a salesperson. I want to buy a gold bracelet for my mom. A simple, solid band is fine. What size does she need? Her wrist is probably about the same size as yours. Then a size 58 should work. The salesperson took a plain gold bracelet from the display case and handed it to Wyatt. He examined it and asked, How much is it? The salesperson tapped on a calculator. Today's gold price is $160 per gram. This bracelet weighs 25 grams, so that's $4,000. Wyatt nodded without hesitation. All right, I'll take it. Could you please wrap it up for me? Of course. While Wyatt talked with the salesperson, Cece was looking at the other gold jewelry in the display cases. As the salesperson went to package the bracelet, Wyatt walked over to her. Want me to buy one for you too? He asked with a smile. Cece shook her head, offering a very reasonable explanation. No, thank you. What kind of college student wears this kind of gold jewelry? Good point, Wyatt chuckled. Then we'll wait until we get married to buy one. Cece rolled her eyes at him and walked over to another display case. Just then, a thought occurred to Wyatt. Should he also get a gift for his future mother-in-law? Technically, it was a bit early to be giving gifts, but Miranda had lent him a huge sum of money. For that reason alone, he felt he should show his appreciation. However, Miranda was different from his mom. His mom loved gold jewelry, but Miranda definitely wouldn't. What kind of gift should he buy? Sir, it's all wrapped for you. Great, thank you. Wyatt took the bag from the salesperson and walked over to Cece. Still racking his brain for a gift idea for Miranda, he suddenly spotted a display case filled with all kinds of pearl necklaces. For a professional woman like Miranda, gold jewelry might seem a bit tacky in a business setting, but a pearl necklace was different. He quickly called the salesperson over again, asked about the prices, and settled on a beautiful pearl necklace for around $800. Cece assumed it was also for his mother and didn't ask any questions. After leaving the mall, they went back to the university campus. Since the dorm supervisor was gone and almost everyone else had left, Wyatt followed Cece unopposed all the way to her dorm room, 205. The other 3 beds were covered with dust sheets, and the desks below them were mostly bare. Since they had to be at the train station early the next morning, Cece started packing as soon as they got back. But with her complete lack of life experience, she spent a long time just trying to fold her comforter. Wyatt, unable to watch any longer, told her to step aside. He jumped up onto the bed and, in a few swift motions, stripped the bedding, folded the comforter and sheets, and packed them into the large woven bag the school had provided at the beginning of the year. It was then that he noticed the stitch plushie he had given her over the summer. Not only had she not thrown it away, but she had kept it on her bed. Wyatt didn't say anything, just silently handed the plushie to her. Cece glanced at it, quickly took it, and stuffed it into her suitcase. Then she hurried to the balcony, pretending to be busy taking down her clothes from the drying rack. Just then, her phone, which was on her desk, started to ring. Wyatt picked it up and saw it was a call from Charles. "It's your dad," he said. "Should I answer?" Cece thought for a moment. "You answer it." Wyatt didn't hesitate and accepted the call. Charles's voice was warm. "Hello, Cece. Are you on break yet? When are you coming home? Dad will come pick you up at the station." Wyatt cleared his throat. "We're coming back tomorrow. Cece is packing right now." Hearing Wyatt's voice, Charles's gentle tone instantly turned icy. "Why is it you again? Where are you right now?" "I'm in her dorm room." "What time are you arriving in Riverwood tomorrow?" "I've already spoken with Aunt Miranda. She's picking us up tomorrow." "Don't trouble yourself, Uncle Charles. Just be safe on the road." Don't worry. With you around, I'm very worried." "Uncle, that's a bit hurtful. You know my character." Hello. Cece, what's wrong with you, Dad?" We were having a perfectly nice conversation, and he just hung up. Cece ignored him, took the phone, and started wheeling her suitcase out the door. Wyatt quickly followed, taking the suitcase from her. After she locked the dorm room, they left the campus and walked back to the hotel. Night fell. In the hotel room, as Cece saw the sky outside darken, a knot of nervousness formed in her stomach. Wyatt, for his part, was sitting on his own bed, quietly playing on his phone. But being alone with him in this small hotel room was enough to send her imagination into overdrive. "Time for a shower. You first, or me?" Wyatt's sudden question almost made her jump. She stammered. You go first." "All right." Wyatt got up and went into the bathroom. Cece sat on the edge of her bed, listening to the sound of the running water. Her heart thumping. She picked up her phone, played Bubble by G.E.M., and turned the volume up. After Wyatt came out of the bathroom and dried his hair, he went back to sitting quietly on his bed. Cece then went into the bathroom. When they were both lying in their respective beds, Wyatt turned off the lights. Cece finally let out a small sigh of relief, her nerves slowly calming. Just as she closed her eyes, ready to sleep, she heard his voice cut through the darkness. "Cece, are you cold?" His sudden question sent a jolt of anxiety through Cece. She remained silent for a moment before whispering back, "No, I'm not cold." Cece wasn't an idiot. Thanks to Isabelle's constant lessons on dating, she knew full well that this question, while disguised as concern, was a dangerous signal. She could even guess what the scoundrel on the other bed would do next, if she had said yes. Her face flushed, and she added, Can we just sleep?" "Okay, good night," Wyatt replied easily. "Good night." Cece closed her eyes again. The room fell silent, and her breathing gradually became even and rhythmic. Before long, she was fast asleep. Wyatt, on the other hand, tossed and turned until the early hours of the morning before finally drifting off. The next morning, Leo arrived at the hotel and called them down. Seeing Wyatt's exhausted expression, looking completely drained, Leo sidled up to him and whispered, "You're really not a good person, are you?" Wyatt just yawned, too tired to explain. He knew that if he told Leo that he and Cece had shared a room, but that nothing had happened, Leo wouldn't believe him anyway. But Wyatt didn't mind. As they were leaving the elevator just moments before, Cece had proactively taken his hand. In a relationship, when a girl who is usually passive suddenly takes the initiative, it means she has finally let down her guard. Wyatt knew that true love is something that develops naturally over time. It can't be rushed. They arrived at the train station, went through ticketing, and boarded the train. Wyatt let Cece have the window seat, taking the middle one for himself, while Leo sat on the aisle. As soon as the train started moving, Wyatt's sleepiness returned, and he leaned his head against Cece's shoulder and fell asleep. Whenever she was this close to him, Cece always felt a special warmth, not just from his arm touching hers, but from her whole left side. Thinking about how the rascal sleeping on her shoulder had secretly taken pictures of her while she slept, she now took out her own phone and snapped a few shots of him. From the aisle seat, Leo caught Cece's small movements out of the corner of his eye. Even though he hadn't eaten much that morning, he suddenly felt completely full. He took out his own phone and sent a message to Sophie. "Morning. Are you up yet?" Around 1 in the afternoon, Miranda stood by her car and dialed Wyatt's number. "Hello, Wyatt. Have you arrived? We'll be there in 2 minutes. You'll see me as soon as you exit the station. I'm in the same spot where I picked you up last time." "Got it. Talk to you in a bit. Aunt Miranda, I have to get our luggage." "Okay." Miranda waited for about 7 minutes before she finally saw Wyatt, Cece, and Leo emerge from the station. Wyatt was pulling Cece's large suitcase, while Cece was handling a much smaller one, which must have been Wyatt's. Miranda completely ignored Leo standing beside them. She hurried forward, intending to help Wyatt with the luggage, but he just smiled and shook his head. "It's pretty heavy. I got it." Miranda nodded with a smile and opened the trunk of the car for them. After they were all in the car, Miranda fastened her seatbelt and said, "I've already booked a restaurant. I'll take you to lunch first, then I'll drive you home." Wyatt had no problem with that. Although his parents knew he was coming home today, they didn't know the exact time. But Leo, upon hearing this, immediately said, "Aunt Miranda, my mom has already cooked for me at home. You can just drop me off anywhere that's easy to get a cab." "That works." And so, Leo was dropped off halfway. Wyatt and Cece continued on in Miranda's car, eventually arriving at a chic Chinese restaurant called the Willows Inn. The moment Wyatt stepped out of the car, he saw Charles waiting by the entrance. Although Charles and Miranda were divorced, he was still Cece's biological father. If Wyatt was going to call Miranda aunt, then he would have to call Charles uncle. He hadn't expected Charles to be here. "This stubborn future father-in-law of mine is showing up a lot lately," he thought to himself. "Cece, you must be hungry after such a long trip. Come on, let's go eat," Charles said, walking over with a broad smile. But Cece simply took Wyatt's hand and walked straight into the restaurant. At the doorway, Wyatt didn't forget to turn back and ask, "Uncle Charles, which private room are we in?" Charles's face darkened. "The Cypress Room." The Cypress Room was the second door on the right. When Cece pushed the door open, the table inside was already laden with several dishes. The air conditioning had been turned on in advance, and Wyatt and Cece both took off their down jackets as they entered. Seeing Charles's dejected expression, Miranda couldn't help but smirk. "I told you not to come, but you insisted. Regret it now. Aren't they moving a little too fast? Did you see their jackets? They're a matching set." "I saw," Miranda replied calmly. "And it's not just the jackets. Their watches are a matching set too." Charles hadn't noticed that. "You need to have a serious talk with Cece," he said urgently. "You can't just let this continue. If you want to talk to her, you do it yourself. Do you think she'll listen to me? And whose fault is that?" The two of them bickered quietly all the way to the private room, where they both fell silent. Having woken up at 8 and rushed to catch the train, Wyatt and Cece had only eaten a single pastry each. Cece, with her small appetite, wasn't very hungry, but Wyatt's stomach had been growling for a while. As soon as a waiter came in with more dishes, he asked for a large bowl of rice. "Cece, eat more," Charles said, barely eating himself as he busied himself putting food on Cece's plate. At first, Cece ate it, but when her bowl started to look like a small mountain, she simply transferred it all to Wyatt's plate. Charles's heart ached. Watching Wyatt shovel food into his mouth like a pig, he sighed internally. "What did I ever do to deserve this?" "Wyatt, how long is your break?" "Until after the Lantern Festival, but I might have to go back a bit earlier for my business." "Cece, in that case," Miranda began. Before she could finish, Cece cut her off. "I'm going back to the city with him." Miranda was taken aback for a second, then smiled. "That's fine. I'd feel more at ease with you going back with Wyatt." "You feel more at ease? Are you kidding me?" Charles was so angry he could have spit blood. After Wyatt had filled his stomach, he chatted happily with Miranda, telling her funny stories about school. Occasionally, when he got a detail wrong, Cece would jump in to correct him. The three of them chatted like old friends. Charles desperately wanted to join the conversation, but didn't know what to say. However, seeing the occasional smile on Cece's face as she spoke, he finally realized that his daughter had indeed changed a lot over the past 6 months. Just as Miranda had said, Cece's personality was slowly improving. Charles wanted to attribute this change to the university environment or her roommates, but deep down, he knew it was all because of Wyatt. The only reason he still disliked Wyatt was the fear that this one boy would completely occupy Cece's heart. And he had a sinking feeling that this little punk had the power to do just that.